Very good afternoon, all the delegates who have joined us here, all my beautiful speakers. So let's begin our today's program. And our anchor for the day is Lakshmi ma'am. She herself is an entrepreneur. She is the co-founder of Vrindavan Play School and a national trainer. So a warm welcome to you, ma'am, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Kanchan.
Yes, ma'am.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of the Institute of Directors, Hyderabad region, I, Lakshmi, would like to welcome you all to a virtual webinar, Women Startup Summit 2022. And theme for the year is Lead Like Never Before. Our today's session aims to deliberate on the growth opportunities and challenges for women startups, IT sector, ecosystem for women entrepreneurship, and will also outline the crucial role of women entrepreneurs. I am delighted to say that today we have women leaders and entrepreneurs from various domains under one roof to share their experiences, aspirations, and success stories. Hats off to all these women entrepreneurs. We are so thankful to have the support from our associate partners, Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited and Eftronic System Private Limited for this webinar. Our supporting partner for this event is WeHub, Women Entrepreneurs Hub, Government of Telangana. Let's start our program for today, and I take the privilege to introduce Ms. Rajeshwari Bhattacharya, Chairperson, Diversified Energy Solutions Private Limited and member, IOD, Odisha State Advisory Committee to deliver the opening remarks. Ms. Bhattacharya's company, Diversified Energy Solutions Private Limited, is a fast-growing infrastructure company implementing various large-scale industrial projects in Eastern India. Ms. Bhattacharya is also the founding chairperson of FICCI Flow Bhubaneswar chapter, India's largest women chamber of commerce. She has more than 2 decades of experience working to empower women, children, and underprivileged people of India. She has worked with global institutions like UNICEF, ActionAid International, CARE USA, UN Women, Water Health, and Bernard Van Lee Foundation globally. Her organization, Hamara Bachpan Trust, won an international award as the Best Youth Act by Peace Jam Foundation 1 Billion Acts, and she won the Inspired Award in 2020 for leadership. She was felicitated by the Ministry of MSME, Government of India in 2020 for being a successful women entrepreneur and mentoring other women. Ms. Bhattacharya, over to you.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Institute of Directors, Regional Office, Hyderabad, for organizing this very relevant Women's Startup Summit, Lead Like Never Before, prior to the International Women's Day. The theme for this year's Women's Day is Break the Barrier. Women constitute half of the world's population, and it is pertinent that we create an inclusive society where women play a vital role. Entrepreneurial spirit is not a male prerogative, and we have ample evidence supporting it. The performances and development of various countries have brought a wide range of economic and social opportunities to women entrepreneurs. Concerted efforts have been made to create an enabling ecosystem for startups in our country. Startup India is a Government of India flagship initiative to build startups and nurture innovation. Through this initiative, the government plans to empower startup ventures to boost entrepreneurship, economic growth, and employment across India. India's startup ecosystem has become the talking point for the entire world, with hundreds choosing to pursue the path of entrepreneurship instead of joining the private sector and the government. We are seeing an explosion of startups in India. The government's action plan aims at accelerating the growth of startups throughout India across all important sectors in Tier 1, 2, and 3 cities, including semi-urban and rural areas, and includes promoting entrepreneurship among SCs, STs, and women. The Startup India Action Plan was unveiled by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji on 16 January 2016, and this day has now been declared as National Startup Day. The action plan focuses both on restricting hindrances and promoting faster growth by way of simplification and handholding, funding support and incentives, and industry academia partnership and incubation. The emergence of startup wave in India is relatively a new phenomenon, and more so for women. Today, India is undergoing a fundamental shift with entrepreneurship and innovations, with multiple opportunities for startups, with India's large population that provides a unique window of opportunity for startups, and a change in the mindset of the working class where people are willing to join startups instead of government jobs or established large corporates. And there's huge investment in Indian startups from foreign and Indian investors. And as we saw in the past few years, it's to the tune of billions of dollars. But there are also issues and challenges of startups, which I'm sure the panelists today will discuss in detail, like lack of adequate financial resources. Several startups fail due to poor revenue generation as the business grows. Assembling a good team is a major requirement. Failure to have one sometimes could break the startup. There are a number of support mechanisms that play a significant role in the life cycle of startups, which include incubators, science and technology parks, business development centers, etc. Lack of access to such support mechanisms increases the risk of failure. Founders of startups have to be tough when the going gets tough. It's very easy to give up and very difficult to sustain in the long run. Ease of doing business in India is still a misnomer. Regulations and bureaucracy hinders and discourages many, and most of us have witnessed this. Lack of proper guidance and mentorship is one of the biggest problems that exist in the Indian startup ecosystem. Entrepreneurship is a challenge, and even more so for women. If you are a woman, despite of all the efforts and expertise, we have to struggle more than our male counterparts to make it big and to get recognized within the business community. Out of the 100 entrepreneurs in India, only 7 are female, as per the Mastercard Index of Women Entrepreneurs. The Google Bain report says only 20% of businesses in the country are owned by women, while the 2021 report by the World Economic Forum also shows a massive gender gap of 72% in India's labor market. So what are the barriers to entry for women entrepreneurs? Fewer sectors are women-friendly, lack of social and institutional support, poor funding prospects, lack of access to professional networks, pressures to stick to traditional gender roles, lack of entrepreneurial environment, limited mobility, lack of education, low risk-bearing ability, balancing responsibilities between family and business, stiff competition, limited industry knowledge, missing role models. We have very few of them, social constructs, and the safety concerns. Many women-friendly government policies aren't being properly implemented by both public and private sectors. And the COVID-19 and the ensuing disruption has disproportionately impacted women. Women are experiencing increased responsibilities at home and workplace. At the same time, COVID-19 has also presented some catalyzing changes, such as an acceptance of remote working models, acceleration of the use of digital channels on both the demand and the supply side, and a shift towards digital versus physical interactions, all of which have the potential to level the playing field, especially for women. We also witnessed a huge spurt of women homemakers starting their home-based businesses. The challenge is to ensure that we have the adequate infrastructure to enable women, especially entrepreneurs, to take advantage of this transformative changes. As I'm often discouraged to pursue my entrepreneurial journey and asked, what made me give up my comfortable international job to become a startup struggler? I would like to end with a quote. People who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And let we women lead like never before. Wishing you all an equal, equitable, and peaceful world. Let's break the barrier. Happy International Women's Day in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your opening remarks. It was indeed a very impactful opening remarks. Moving along, I take the pride in requesting Lieutenant General J.S. Ahluwalia, PVSM retired, President, Institute of Directors, India, to deliver the welcome address. Let me introduce him. Lieutenant General J.S. Ahluwalia is also the President of the World Environment Foundation, a postgraduate in electronics engineering and MBA. He has specialized in engineering support to weapons system of Army. He has undergone extensive training in various manufacturing concerns in France, UK, USSR, and Japan. He is a chartered engineer and fellow member of a large number of foreign and Indian professional engineering and management institutions. He has been chairman of the Institution of Engineers India, president of Delhi Management Association, and chairman of Safety and Quality Forum Institutions of Engineers. Lieutenant General Ahluwalia, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jaya. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. I do find myself in a very difficult state. I find such all startups, such big people there, and I'm really caught up in them. But I'm very happy. Let me address Ms. Damitri Patnaik, Chairperson, Diversified Energy, and member of IOD Odisha State Advisory Committee, Ms. Uma, co-founder and ED Granules India, and the chair of FICCI Flow Hyderabad. Now, FICCI Flow Hyderabad, FICCI Flow VR IOD is very much has connected with, has a MOU with them in Delhi with the headquarter. And the first program for Masterclass-for-directors was conducted by us in June. The second one sometimes in October, and the third one is in the planning and any time to be conducted now. So we are very much connected with FICCI Flow. We are very happy and glad to see Umaji here available and helping you and encouraging you all in really moving up in this direction. So let me welcome you all on behalf of the Institute of Directors for this high-level webinar on Women Startup Summit 2022 with the theme that lead like work before, a subject that IOD cares deeply about. We have been conducting a number of programs, whether it is diversity, I mean, the women diversity is just one of the diversities. The IOD, which deals with the board level, has to deal with diversity of various kinds, ethnic, training, various kinds of diversity are required, and a board requires them. It requires people who are expertise in different areas to meet the total balance, to provide the total balance. Gender balance is one of the balances, but the total balance as far as the board is concerned, where Institute of Directors is involved, is to ensure how a total balance can be involved without just getting into gender. Gender balance is one, but I'm sure the way, as you mentioned, and let me just tell you the startups. I mean, just today's newspaper, I was reading that as far as startups are concerned, there is a seminar which is on 12th of March by Economic Times giving startup awards. And last year, because it was record breaking, the startups raised more than $40 billion in India. That is the US, that is the startups, investment in startups. The last year was really record breaking with Zomato and Nokia subscribing more than 40 to 80 times of the issue. That is how they were subscribed. So this is something which one is really proud of what they're doing. And let me tell you that IOD has been involved with them to a certain extent for the last 3 years when we have a MOU with the Ministry of MSME. I mean, MSME, which is really the backbone of the business in the country, especially the labor force, because it takes on more than 85% of the country's labor. And this is where what we were required for them, the ministry required that we prepare leadership training for them, for the startups and the MSMEs, that we provide documentation for their process functionings, SOPs, various functionings for quality documentation so that they can smoothly function in an effective manner without making mistakes and more compliance oriented. So this is what we have been trying to see, how IOD can help them. A number of guidebooks have been prepared, number of training programs have been conducted, number of national and regional seminars with MSMEs have been organized just to meet this basic requirement of the MOU with the ministry here. And the ministry, of course, I must admit that they have been a great help. They have been providing us what really is required. They have been providing a lot of, the government has been providing the MSMEs a lot of funding, though of course we had not taken anything, we have not taken any fund from them, but this was mainly that we will provide the support, we will give them MSME, invite them for our conventions, our conferences all over the country and even abroad, because as you know, IOD conducts a number of conventions, including international conventions, including 3 abroad every year since 2003. We conduct one in London, we conduct one in Dubai, we conduct one in Singapore. And so we said we will call these MSMEs, invite them so that they can meet their elder brothers, the bigger businesses, and that is where they will get orders from. They need orders, they need people whom they can supply. And we said, we will provide you this contact because the contact point is with us. So we can help you in join in this. And so this is how IOD has been very much involved in startups, in MSMEs, and seeing how we can assist them come up. While of course, just to say, the main role of IOD is responsible for, it's a national association of corporate directors in India, just like Corporate Institute of Chartered Accountants or Institute of various other institutes, Institution of Engineers. I have been chairman of that, like that, number of these institutions that are there. So this is Institution of Corporate Directors in India. This is the only a not-for-profit organization. We have nobody is here to make any money. We are here to see how we can provide service to the directors who are members. And so it's a membership-based organization. And we have to see how to provide training to them to keep them updated throughout with lots of changes in the corporate laws and the various SEBI instructions and other things that keep coming. And we must see that our members, that is the directors, are fully aware. We give them just a very brief, to the point, because nobody has time today. And so we have to be just to the point. So we have a number of guidebooks, very brief, telegraphic, I would say, to the extent, and that is why they're cheap, and we are selling them at no profit basis. So we are trying to see how to produce a number of, there are nearly 20 books on boardroom functioning, on functional of various functional things, like, for example, corporate social responsibility, business ethics, whatever areas that you can think of, your cyber security. You just take any area in which you are concerned, you will find the Institute of Directors having a book for the board level, director level, just giving you information, brief to the point, with the latest laws, rules concerning that, and you need to just refer it and go before your meeting. That is it's a like for their shelf in their office. It's a book for that. So this is what we're doing. We publish a monthly journal, which is known as Director Today. It is just to keep them aware of each other, what they're doing, what is happening. And we have a quarterly special issues on different themes so that we can upkeep everybody updated and in position. So that is all the time our job is how to serve our members and meet their needs. Basically, that is exactly what we are trying to do. Now, as I mentioned that with the FICCI flow at FICCI headquarters, been conducting a masterclass for the women to become board-ready independent directors. And a number of them are joining. Do you know that, of course, all masterclass, we do conduct more than one per month, I would say, somewhere or the other in the country or online also now for the last 2 years, masterclass training program for directors and for independent directors, because more than 50% of the all boards today are independent directors. More than nearly average of 2 per board are women directors. And we expect, we hope them to, that they will come down to 25% or so in another 5 years' time. So we are preparing for that and seeing how to prepare the women reach there, how to prepare the women for becoming an independent director and serve their role, be qualified for it, be available where required. So we've been conducting a number of independent programs just for women. We had, I mean, the very first program we conducted was some about, I would say, 6-7 years back in Kochi. And in Kochi, we had 27 women who came in, and they were all mid-level executives, and they wanted to see, do we have, let's prepare ourselves for the top posts and this. Because, I mean, let me tell you, the top posts, there are, while today, if you look at, say, IT industry, 50% of the women, 50% of the new intake is women, more than 50, sometimes 55%. That is the new intake. But at the middle level, there are just 30%. And at the top level, there is just 1%. That is the position as today. Now, this is not acceptable, certainly not acceptable. So we have to see what are the gaps. Of course, the COVID hybrid functioning, we are hoping it will help, because there were 2 things which were coming in the way, the marriage and the childbirth, and we were seeing how these 2 gaps can be filled up, and will hybrid workforce provide that gap or cover that gap suitably without losing anything. We hope that it will be an additional, if not the only thing that is possible, but something additional which will help us reach forward. So these are various things that have been going on as far as this. For example, do you know that TCS, Tata Services, has 36.5% women employees today. And these employees total 200,000 women are working for TCS today. And the number, in fact, only just last week, they crossed the 2 lakh number. And so they sort of celebrated it. And I mean, I read as to what the MD really, the CEO Gopinathan, he said that women make TCS stronger, bigger, and bolder. And the workforce reflects the society very closely. And he expects that this workforce will become 50%. It is today 36.5%, but it will become 50% soon as the total workforce. So this is how all these companies, even Infosys has got 39% women workforce today, and it is also working for more than 50% to move up. So we need a sustained career support program, gender parity. It must get, you see, at various top echelons, how it is getting skewed at top echelon, how we can avoid that and really make them come up. So this is what really is required. In 2020, the top 250 companies of NSE, only 6 women CEOs were there. Out of these 6, 3 were from the promoter oblique family business and 3 were professionals. So this is how the actual position of 2020 of NSE listed companies was. So this is how the things stand. Now, if you various studies are going on. Now, how men and women, they are doing unpaid labor. You see, at home and various other things are unpaid labor. So they found that per day, a man does 52 minutes of unpaid labor, but a woman does 352 minutes. That is 7 times more on routine chores she has to spend, with the result that she has less time to meet peers for her skill building and to see more women who will reach up to the C-suites. So how such things, these are the various things are being checked as to how such things are happening, how they can be bettered, how they can be improved, and we could really move up. So it's very important that we encourage women to raise their hands, to take on challenging assignments in their organization, continue to push the boundaries on what is possible. This is very important, and the corporates are today helping them to raise their hands and pose for that, for taking on these jobs, etc. So this is how all this is moving. I just would see today girls have been outshining boys in 10 and 12. They are also doing at the graduate level these days, and all this is going on. That is fine. You would have also seen women in defense leading the last Republic Day parade on 26th January. You know, Shivangi was flying the latest Rafale fighters over the same thing. So like that, Geeta Gopinath is the first woman who was the chief economist and now the vice president of the IMF. So things are moving up. The India's contingent of United Nations peacekeeping force was congratulated by the Secretary General for having 26% women in the workforce. The whole contingent had 26% women. That's the first. He says this is the highest they have ever had so far. So these are the things they have. Women have an excellent balance of creativity and pragmatism, and they are doing extremely well in number of these issues. I mean, I can really, as far as women on boards are concerned, various aspects, I can continue and tell you a lot more because we are working on it, whether it is diversity in thoughts, whether it is in experience, knowledge, prospective genders, and various aspects of this. But social attitude only limits women's potential, and selective institutional biases, the trust deficit, and paid discrimination, it holds back women executive move to the leadership positions. So these are various aspects. Gender is only one of the several dimensions of diversity, as I mentioned earlier, and we need not really bother about that. At the boardroom, I mean, I can talk to you how where women are more in Norway, 41%, this, that, and what advantages it is happening throughout the world. So this is a different area, and I shall not get involved in this. But I would like to just say one thing, that the notion of gender itself has become so fluid that even the women organizations today are questioning the inclusion of gender parity under diversity. Why it should be considered under diversity? What is the need? Why should we be looking at parity of gender parity? So as a disservice, they're counting it as a disservice to the women. I will just read out. This is by the women organizations in Europe. They are saying the notion of gender itself has been so fluid. It has become so fluid that even women organizations are questioning the inclusion of gender parity under diversity. They're questioning it as a disservice. And has not the glass ceiling become a relic of the past? This is what we have to see. We have to move in a very different direction. So, I mean, it's a subject which does interest me. I could go on with you for hours, but you have many more brilliant people around and we would like to hear to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the welcome address. It was really wonderful to listen to all the facts and figures. I would now like to welcome Ms. Uma Chigurupati, co-founder and executive director, Granules India Limited, and chairperson, FICCI Flow Hyderabad, to deliver the inaugural address. Mrs. Chigurupati holds more than 3 decades of experience across various fields of corporate functions. She co-founded Trinton Laboratories Private Limited in 1984, which was later amalgamated with Granules India Limited. She is also the director of KRSMA Estates Private Limited, one of India's premier boutique wineries, and the president of Ikebana International Hyderabad chapter. Prior to this, she was the chairperson of the Hyderabad 10K Foundation, which promotes health awareness for the citizens of Hyderabad, particularly women, through multiple initiatives, including different runs in the city. An avid marathoner, she holds a rare distinction of running marathons in all the continents as well as the North Pole. Over to you, Mr. Chigurbati.
Thank you, Lakshmi. A very good afternoon, all. Congratulations to IOD for organizing this important and powerful session, Lead Like Never Before. The increasing presence of women as entrepreneurs has led to the change in the demographic characteristics of business and economic growth of the country. Women-owned businesses and enterprises are playing a prominent role in society, inspiring others and generating more employment opportunities in the country. Not just the economic situation of the country, it contributes to improve the situation of women in the society. Women represent, yes, only 14% of entrepreneurs in India, and a majority of those startups are micro enterprises and self-financed. A clear sign that women entrepreneurs are not being equipped to reach their potential. India has become the third largest startup ecosystem in the world after the US and China, as per the Economic Survey 2021-22 released recently. The survey noted that the government recognized over 14,000 new startups. This is the best time to give a boost to the women entrepreneurs. Identifying the areas which need to focus and working on that is a necessity. We all know the constraints for women entrepreneurs, even Dharatri mentioned just now. Compared to the global number of nearly 126 million women owning a business, the statistics for India may seem nominal. However, it is still inspiring as for the Indian working women overcoming the deeply entrenched patriarchal norms and mindsets and carving a niche in the male-dominated world of business in itself is commendable. Moreover, these new age business women are self-made, with not many of them belong to established business families. In fact, they come from all walks of life and from across the country as they challenge themselves and stand tall when facing stiff competition from the other gender in commerce. Though the argument is not about men or women, the fact remains that the journey for female business owners has not been as an easy one. This is despite the nation being regarded as one of the best destinations to establish startups across a range of sectors. Yes, women have come a long way from being a minority in startup ecosystem.
I think there should be some network issue. Let's just hold on for a minute before ma'am can join in again.
There is little hitch. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. From my experience, I would like to share, when we are planning to implement startup programs from our organization Wikiflow, we have realized that we should go and start from basics to some of our members. basic understanding of accounts and finances, how to pitch, providing mentorship, conducting boot camps, which will help in creating a roadmap and creating market awareness. We are able to implement all these with the help of our knowledge partners like IIIT, IIT, VHub, and IIM, and are proving very beneficiary. We also need to begin early on by start at school level about entrepreneurship as a curriculum. VHub has started doing this, and a few educational institutions are implementing this program. It should be implemented in all schools and colleges. Create funds accessible to girl students or women from all strata of the society. Access to incubation centers, which would help in assisting the startups. Offer incentives or allowances, which Startup India is already doing by offering 20,000 per month for 1 year for eligible women entrepreneurs, which could also encourage more girl students and women to join the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Promoting these programs in Tier 2 and 3 cities aggressively through social media. Tying up women-centric forums like FICCI, IWN, and other organizations to bring more awareness. We can make a tremendous contribution in this space by creating an inclusive environment for the women startups to survive. If we could do this in India, we have the potential to drastically enhance employment, which would naturally increase the economy by multifold. Let us see what the women entrepreneurs do from their side. It is important to carve out a definitive roadmap. Networking is very important. The company rests on the owner's shoulders and she has to navigate it. Constant learning, acquiring knowledge is an endless process, and it is vital for women to know current trends to implement in their businesses. For this, they have to attend seminars, events, workshops, and join in organizations to meet peer groups, come together and exchange knowledge, problem solutions. Understanding the availability of time and prioritization. Time-life balance plays a very important role in the success of the entrepreneurial journey of a woman. Building a support system, without this, it is difficult to face the rough patches of business, ready to meet the challenges and risk-taking. Finally, I would like to say that the Indian startup ecosystem for female entrepreneurs is currently thriving. In my opinion, it is one of the best times to be a women entrepreneur in India, as not only there's support from government, but also various private accelerators and funds have been exclusive programs for females. However, there is still some acceleration required, especially on more women entrepreneurs supporting and looking up to each other. Only then will I say the ecosystem will be conducive enough. Now, let us unite and lead like never before. Thank you. Happy Women's Day in advance.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your powerful inaugural address. It was so inspiring. I would now like to welcome Ms. Deepthi Rawala, CEO, WeHub, to deliver the theme address. WeHub is a Government of Telangana initiative for promoting and fostering women entrepreneurship in Telangana and across India. Ms. Rawala is an electronics engineer by profession and passion, has a 15 years of experience working in USA and Palm, Nokia, Aetherons, Qualcomm, Lightpoint, Teradyne, among others in RF communication roles. She joined the government of Telangana as a joint director for electronics in 2016 and has been appointed as CEO of WeHub since inception in 2017. She is a strong proponent of girls in STEM, empowerment through economic enablement, women in leadership roles, and women in decision-making spaces. She is working towards creating a work environment that is gender diverse and on constructing economic independence mechanisms as a tool for women enablement. Over to you, Ms. Rawala.
Ma'am, you're not.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lakshmi, for the very warm introduction. Vanita ma'am, such a pleasure seeing you. Suresh sir, hello. And also everybody else. I'm so sorry I'm a little bit late. So at the outset, wishing all of you a very happy International Women's Week and a year. I think now it's our time for grabbing the opportunities. And the summit is actually quite an opportune conversation that we all need to have. And there are so many inspirational speakers in the summit. To start out with, as Ms. Lakshmi introduced, I head WeHub for the government of Telangana. And one of the key things that we actually do is to support, foster, and enable women entrepreneurs to start, scale, and sustain businesses. So whatever I'm going to be speaking is based on the experience that I've had over the past 4 years of being a part of this conversation around women entrepreneurship. The first thing that I would like to start out with is that I'm not an entrepreneur myself. I'm not a person who's actually worked in government anytime before. I'm a hardware engineer. I, like every self-respecting Hyderabadi student, back in the early 90s and 2000s, I actually did my engineering. I went to the US right after I graduated without any backlogs, and I worked there for over 15 years. I'm a hardware engineer myself. But the reason I came back is because I got an opportunity to be part of a new state and be a foot soldier in the story of Telangana. And while we were doing this, I started out in the government writing policy for the state for electronics. And one of the things that we noticed is many times women were directors, they were signatories, and many of the companies that we were working with, but we never saw any women enter our offices. So one thing we thought is maybe because we are a government office, people didn't want to come. But over time, we realized that, while women were signatories, directors, they were not decision makers. They were not there, they did not feel that, they had to be part of the conversation. They were just there because, women had special protections and provisions in policy and all these. So while we were having this conversation, we flagged it a little bit to our superiors. And at that time itself, Global Entrepreneurship Summit happened. And that is where the idea for WeHub actually came about. And the first thing that I did, given that I actually haven't worked with many women entrepreneurs myself, I got a coach for myself. And I asked him, sir, what is the state of women entrepreneurship in India? So he said, madam, there are very simply few things. First is you have to know what a PPP model is. And being a very, smart cookie, I thought I said it's public-private partnership. And I was actually told that, ma'am, that is where you missed the boat. It actually means pickles, papads, petticoats, and sanitary pads. Because all the skilling, all the focus, whatever else is being done is actually staying at that level. Then I actually then came back and I was like, but I know so many brilliant women who are actually doing so much work in tech. They're doing so much work in, creating products which are actually able to scale to 1 billion. They are creating products which can actually scale internationally beautifully. And why is it that we are always talking about, the PPP model, as you've just explained to me? And one of the things that we discovered over the time is that women are all looked at as one group of people, right? Women entrepreneurs are all one. So, somebody may be doing something for self-employment, somebody who's just trying to be economically enabled. If they are doing something, they are clubbed with somebody like Vaishali, who we are going to be hearing from a little bit later, somebody who's doing AI and deep tech and so much more. So we realize that, while we work on enabling women entrepreneurs across the board, there has to be a clear demarcation between the kind of entrepreneurs that we are working with. The reason I say this is because a lot of support mechanisms that exist due to incubators, startups, mentors, whatever else, everything is very ad hoc. The entrepreneur herself has to figure out, Acha, I did this piece of the puzzle, where do I go next? And so one of the things that we've been working on over the past 4 years is to make sure that, we do an entire end-to-end kind of support mechanism where we work with the entrepreneur from idea all the way to the time that they raise the fund. So that is briefly our journey with WeHub. But now coming down to this conversation around women startups, women in business, let me tell you one thing, guys, it's now time to change the conversation. We are not going to be looking at challenges anymore, because today we have IOD, which is Suresh Garu himself has been a champion of saying that, more women need to be trained in terms of becoming directors, because there is an immense need, not just to be, a check boxes, but there is an immense need to be decision makers. So that is one thing. You have so many support mechanisms like IOD, WeHub, we have CIIWN who's doing brilliant work. So many platforms are there. But why is it that we are still talking about ourselves as women entrepreneurs? not entrepreneurs creating products for the market. So first thing I would like to request all of us to kind of take a look at is how do we make sure that we don't talk about challenges, but we become a generation of entrepreneurs who talk about the opportunities that are there and how we are utilizing all of them and scaling to 1 billion. That is number one. The second thing I would like to also request all of you is that many times, right, we expect a very perfect circumstance. We expect that, I'm a woman, I've done so much. When I go to this XYZ place, I need to get all this support handed to me on a platter. Please, no, that's not going to happen. You need to be very clear on what is it that you need from every platform that you're approaching and ensure that you're actually able to capitalize all those things. So make sure that your opportunities or the research that you're doing is going to put you in great stead in grabbing the support mechanisms that is there. The third important thing is that many times there is this huge conversation around cold calling and just saying that if you just walk into the door, you get that. A lot of times we hear these hero stories, right? I was just there by chance and things happened to me. I'll be very honest, that by chance moment happened with almost many months of preparation. So don't believe in this suddenly one day magic happened. No, you need to make sure that you're preparing for that one moment to happen, and you have to also orchestrate that moment. Do you know that? So that is one more thing that I would like to request all of you to look into. Number 4 thing is that, there is a lot of beauty in asking, right? Because that means that you actually have internalized the problem. You've actually understood what to ask for, but we end up asking the same thing of everybody. So make sure that you're matchmaking correctly. So let's say you come to VHub, or let's say you go to Vaishali, or you go to Vanita Garu or anybody else. You need to be able to understand what is it that that person can do best for you, and have your ask curated to that. Just don't go and just matchmaking. If the matchmaking between us, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm in a police car, so apologies. So the matchmaking between the ask that you have and the person that you're contacting also has to be done very beautifully. Number 4, important thing is that, a lot of times we keep saying that, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, but I could not because I have a fear of XYZ or whatever else. So make sure that, you understand what your fears are and try to overcome them, or at least have a conversation with somebody who will help you overcome those challenges. The reason I say this is because as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things that is needed is risk-taking capability. And if you are scared of too many things, what are we going to achieve, right? So that is very important. Number 5 thing, and which is also something that I practice very much, is that we know a lot, right? We know a lot. We are at a stage in life where we feel, we feel passionately about something. We start something because we feel we've learned everything about it. But guess what? When you get to that place, you should ready to be unlearning all that stuff, because the world is so diverse. We are learning. There are so many new things that are coming. So always make sure that, you get to a point through thorough research, learn everything about it. But the minute you get that opportunity or are in a place where you're able to execute your vision, please be ready to unlearn and relearn everything also. Because without being coachable, we can never be successful. See, one of the beauties of any important or somebody who's great visionary is that they are lifelong learners. And that is something which is also very important for startups, because there are so many changes that are happening. How do you make sure that, you are able to understand it better without being too married to your vision? I mean, the vision and the goal is there, but the modalities of how you achieve that vision can change. And this coachability is a very important aspect of achieving that vision. Number 6 is that, this is very interesting. I think that's not a very women problem. It's an Indian problem. We tend to run away from conflict, right? When somebody says something which we do not appreciate, when some circumstance is a little bit difficult for us, we either try to blame the circumstance or we try to escape from the circumstance. One thing I'd like to advise, or something that I practice, is that please counter that circumstance. I don't mean to say that, if you have a conflict, get into fights, street fights and stuff like that. But it's more in terms of if there is a situation, if there is something which is making you uncomfortable, be it your mentor, be it your incubator, be whoever else, make sure that, you are able to sit down and have a conversation across the table. Because conflicts happen because somebody's understood your perspective slightly differently than what they understand that to be. It is just a miscommunication. So make sure that, you're handling and solving conflicts, because In my own personal experience, when we sit across a table and have a conversation, so many people that you may have had a little bit of a difference of opinion with will become your strongest mentors and coaches also, because the value that they bring is so much diverse than what you already know. So that is one of the most important things. And then when it comes to entrepreneurs, the biggest challenge that we see is that many times we end up thinking, women entrepreneurs especially think that, because we do not have access to fund, we are not able to scale. That is actually wrong. And I think all the startup entrepreneurs who are going to be speaking will reiterate this. I think the number one thing is having the right support mechanism, be it in terms of incubator or mentor. Find your mentor. Make sure that you are actually able to go to somebody who can be your soundboard. Access to knowledge and information is number one. Number two is access to talent pool. These are your first two challenges. If you have these two figured out, then that is when your access to funding comes to play. Because the best ideas executed with the best team, even if they are not well funded, not having the most amount of money, will become the most sought after ideas, is something that we've seen over the past few years. So that is something I would like to really strongly advise that you guys take a look at it. And last and most important thing is that, this is something that you guys might have heard of many times. There is no concept of failure, right? So don't think that you failed in something. You just think that that is one more way you should not be doing something. So it is not even called as a failure, actually. For me, it is like, oh, if some path is not working, or, it did not execute the way that we envision, what is the next opportunity that we get to learn? So that is the next thing that I would like to highlight. And last and most important thing is that when it comes to women entrepreneurs, especially, see the startup conversation, I'm sure there is a lot of brilliant people who will be speaking. Vanita ji is somebody who actually brings so many insights. Every time I hear her, it is so inspiring. But I'll let Vanita ma'am speak a lot about the entrepreneur challenges, because ma'am actually is an entrepreneur herself. She's been through the journey. She can actually speak so much more from experience. But as a support mechanism that we have is, I would like to also highlight to you that, one of the biggest things that a lot of women especially try to do is have a work-life balance. One small advice: it does not exist, because some days family takes precedence, sometimes work takes precedence. You cannot keep trying to be the perfect everything. Enjoy the ride. Please enjoy yourself, because once you stop looking at things as challenges and look at everything as a solvable problem, including this work-life balance conversation, I think life is so much more richer, and you enjoy every day and you go to sleep with a smile on your face. So I wish all of you a lot of incredible success, a lot of happy times ahead, and wishing all of you a brilliant Women's Day. And once again, apologies for this very not so great background and very noisy noises. Apologies, I got delayed immensely. And thank you so much, IOD, for being a very patient host for today. Thank you so much. Look forward.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an insightful theme address. Very inspired with what you said. I would now like to welcome Ms. Vanita Kadyala, Vice Chairperson and MD, Eliko Limited, to deliver the keynote address. Before that, let me introduce her. Eliko Limited is a 55-year-old company that is a pioneer in analytical instruments industry. Ms. Kadyala is also the Managing Director, Eliko Healthcare Services Limited, a service provider to the healthcare industry in countries like USA, UK, Middle East. She has received Superwoman of Decade 2010, 22, 2020 Award by High 9 Hyderabad, Women Excellence Award by Institute of Public Enterprise Hyderabad, Exceptional Leaders of Excellence Award by Women Economic Forum Bengaluru, Business Achievers Award for Excellence by Andhra Chamber of Commerce, Mahila Ratna Award by Sri Kala Sudha Telugu Association, Chennai, Outstanding Women Award by Nizam Club Hyderabad. She is the board member, this.com. FT Lauderdale, Florida, USA, Global Advisory Committee member, Daniels School of Business, Colorado, USA, founding member, Diversify Club, member of Executive Council, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Kakinada, advisory board member, WWF, State Chapter, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and many more to come. I am so privileged to welcome Ms. Kadyala. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for inviting me, and thank you to the entire committee for inviting me and for curating such a beautiful program. All the speakers who spoke prior to me, whether it was Deepthi or Uma or no Lieutenant General Ahluwalia or even Gayatri, have brought in such relevant nuances towards what women entrepreneurship is all about and what the startup culture is all about. Everybody knows that India's number 3, I think, on the list of the most number of startups that are actually blooming today, and unicorns, if you name it. In fact, during the pandemic, it was very surprising that we had the highest number of unicorns come out of our country. Today, I think the country stands at almost 80 or 79 or 80 plus unicorns that are actually adding so much value to the common man. So how come we don't see too many women in this ecosystem? How is it that only the men are able to create this value? How is it that only the men are actually trying to create companies, are becoming good entrepreneurs, are creating these unicorns and adding so much value not only to themselves, but also to the nation in which they reside? Let me share a few details. I thought if the privilege is given to me, I can actually share a small presentation where I've got certain statistics that might actually help all of you understand, because though Uma and Deepthi and the earlier speakers have spoken on what the ecosystem is all about, I would like to bring the conversation back to you, to this generation that is actually going to carve out the future of India, and how you can actually play a big role in creating a better sustainable country for us, so that the coming generations will actually prove to be very, very lucky to be residing in this country. So I think if I have the share screen rights, yeah, so I hope this is visible to everybody. Can I get a nod or something?
Yes,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, so what I would like for you to understand is, like, all of us have been talking about gender parity, and this is nothing new today. In fact, every Women's Day, every year during the month of March, everybody wakes up and we look at what is gender parity happening, what is the role of women, and how we can improve women's representation in different sectors, whether it is in the corporate sector, whether it is in the social sector, whether it's in the political arena, how we have to do that. But what is very, very saddening is that today, the the United Nations report that they have done on global gender gaps, and of course, this report is 2020, but I've seen the report on 2021 too. It says that gender parity in this world will not be attained for 100 years. So what does that actually mean for all of us? All of us are just talking, but and we may be working towards gender parity in certain pockets, in very tiny, tiny pockets. But this is not in a position to scale up. And all of us being in the startup, we know that scale is very, very important for any organization. It is only then that that value gets disseminated to a number of people, and the value of that company also improves. So when this report itself, when the United Nations report says that gender parity is not going to be achieved for the next 100 years, it means that not only for our generation, for your generation, maybe for your children, or even for your grandchildren, they may not be in a position to envision a more gender balanced world. And that, I think, is a cause for concern. What does this actually mean? Where does our responsibility lie? In fact, in India, I think we have slipped not only from the 108th to the 112th position. This presentation is a little old, dated, but just recent statistics have shown that we have actually fallen from the 112th position to a 140th rank out of 156 countries that have been measured. That means that we are very, very bottom of the pile, and that actually bodes very, very bad for all of us that are actually living in this nation. Now, I'd like to bring this into context. All of us know, I mean, especially most of you who are in the managerial field and who are now striving to put up startups, you must be knowing that every country is ranked on the amount of their gross domestic product, that is their GDP. And there is an international ranking which ranks nations on the amount of GDP that they contribute. And in this particular statistic, we are looking at United Nations at the number 1 position with almost about $21 to $22 trillion. Where is India in this? Maybe India is at the number 5th or the number 6th position, but the difference is huge. We are just about touching $3 trillion, which is nothing when you compare to the United States or maybe even China. In fact, smaller countries like Japan and Germany are far ahead of us. Now, this is one more statistic that I would like all of you to see and to notice. On this, it is an index where they rank countries by the size of its population. And here we are neck to neck with China. We are in fact number 2 today in the world with the highest number of population at 1.3 billion people. What does that mean with both these statistics? If you look at the previous statistic where we are maybe at the 5th or the 6th position, but at a very, very low GDP of $3 trillion, the next statistics that shows us number 2 in that index with the highest, second highest number of people residing in this country. This actually means that not a huge chunk of that population is actually contributing to the economy. It is a very, very tiny percentage that actually creates that gross domestic product. What does that mean? That means that the rest of them who are not contributing are actually becoming a burden to that economy. And when I say a burden, let me then tell you the next thing. Of course, this particular statistic was also spoken by the Lieutenant General, and he said that the female labor force participation has been coming down drastically, and more so since the pandemic. In fact, if you look at the last almost 1.5 decades, there has been a steep decline in the percentage representation of females in the workspace, in spite of us doing very, very well in the education sector. Most of us are coming with credentials, with fantastic qualifications, yet that is not getting translated into the workspace. You have heard Lieutenant General who said that today TCS has almost 2 lakh women employees, and we have similar numbers in the other IT companies. But what happens is this is only relevant up to a certain level. By the time these women come to the mid-managerial level, the dropout happens. And these women that drop out actually very sadly, because of the ecosystem, because of the challenges, because of the cultural setup of our country, do not come back to the workspace. And this is where we actually lose all that talent. So coming back to the earlier context where I showed the GDP and the statistics of the population of our country, when I said that a very, very tiny percentage actually adds value in terms of the gross domestic product of a nation, the rest of the population is actually uses this infrastructure that the nation is actually providing. So while not being a contributor, we are actually being a user of those infrastructural facilities. Today, the country offers us infrastructure like communication, electricity, whether it is housing, whether it is utilities, airports, education, healthcare. Now, if we are not contributing to it, how does a country then start evolving? How does a country start improving on its quality of life? And that's the reason why we've seen the brain drain happening in the earliest part of the decade, where a lot of our educated and bright talent used to actually go off to foreign shores for better opportunities while leaving the country as it is. And so today also we are suffering from a lot of deficit in infrastructure, especially in the rural areas, especially in tier 2, tier 3 towns. It is only the metros that are actually beaming with infrastructure, but it is still not sufficient to tackle the steaming masses there. If you look at the challenges that a lot of my earlier speakers have spoken about, what is it that we as women are actually contributing to these challenges? Are we being part of the solution? Are we actually conversing with the forces that can make decisions and that can improve these challenges and create it into a better life for all of us? But sadly, we are not. In fact, I think Uma made a statement saying that women need to be in decision-making roles. And that is where our value, our perspective will come to the fore. Today, we cannot blame the system, we cannot blame the government, we cannot blame other people for whatever woes we are actually facing, but we need to be actually part of the solution. All of you know about the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations has come about with. And if you look at number 5, it means gender equality. And gender equality means that both men and women, as well as the third gender today, has equal opportunities. Number 10 is another goal that says reduce inequalities. And this reduction in inequalities is across, whether it is in your ethnicity, whether it is in your financial status, whether it is in your cultural backgrounds. We need to ensure more inclusion and more integration of every citizen in the country. As I always say, that women are necessary to be there where decisions are being made. And how does one come to such a position unless they stay back into the workspace, whether as a professional, whether as an entrepreneur, whether you are a volunteer in a social organization, unless you start climbing up that ladder, only then with your experience and with your expertise, you will be invited to those bodies that actually formulate policy, where decisions are being made that will actually shape the coming, coming generations, and it will create a better infrastructure for the country as a whole. What I would like to actually talk a little bit about all of the requirements that women actually need, and we actually refrain from exhibiting, is on leadership. Because this is one area that unless we start striving to, unless we make our presence felt, we will not be in a position to carve out a better society for tomorrow, for the next generation. And this is what I have personally learned through my experience over the last 3 decades. And I have actually been able to articulate it really well in this 6 ups. But the professor who actually was talking to us about the 6 ups of leadership. And I think this is very, very critical, especially to women, because of the background that we come from, because of the cultural setup that we come from. Sometimes we face a lot of inhibitions, we face a lot of stereotyping, we face a lot of hindrances from us exhibiting these leadership skills. But I think consciously we now need to start getting aware of this and start building up on it, so that the current generation can actually make a name for themselves. They can carve out a better country for us to reside in, and they can create a sustainable environment for the future generations. So what my professor actually taught me, I would like to share with all of you, which are known as the 6 ups of leadership. And the first up is to show up. Showing up is very critical. And as women, we always like to shirk our responsibilities. We like to actually say that, no, we don't have time. We have enough on our plate. We would like, the men are anyway doing it, let them do it. But this is what is actually proving to be very wrong, because unless you go and visit and show up at whatever places need your support, that is half the battle won. And for all the participants who have come today, all of you know that being part of such webinars and conferences, there will be some key takeaways. And that is actually very, very easy for all of you to listen to the thought leaders on this panel and understand at least 1 or 2 points from what they have, the stories that they share. Imbibe those into your personal and your professional life, so that you try then to get to the next level in your dreams and in your ambition. So showing up is actually half the battle won. And I think as women, we need to start taking up the responsibility that we too are actually going to be helping in carving out the society for tomorrow. The second up is speak up. And here's, as women, we have maybe culturally conditioned not to actually speak too much, maybe not rock the boat, but this is very, very essential. Unless we speak up, how will the other side know what is bothering us? How will they understand what it is to see the world from our perspective? See, today we saw a Lieutenant General who was probably the only man in this entire participation list that were majorly dominated by women. So now he might understand what it feels like to be a minority. But in the past, when women were sole and lone women that were actually part of these public forums, they too also feel very marginalized because they are just a minority there and they feel inhibited to speak up. But unless they speak out and bring their perspective and their thoughts to the table, whatever policies get formulated, whatever decisions are being made will never get the other side of the story. So please, girls, use your voices in the right manner to actually speak out your thoughts. The third up is to look up. And here looking up has two connotations. One is you look at the bigger picture, like how I've shown you the bigger picture as to the GDP and connected it with the population of our country and how part of the population is only contributing to the GDP while the rest of the other population is not. Here we also need to look at the bigger picture and how the role that we play today will actually form a better tomorrow for everybody. When I was actually comparing the GDP with the other nations and the population with the other nations, look at the number one nation in the country, in the world, which has the highest GDP, which is the United States. But the United States has a very, very tiny population compared to India. It has only maybe less than 1/3. That shows that the population of that country is very, very, very effective in contributing value to the economy. And that is the reason why the quality of life in those progressive countries is so good. And that makes us want to actually go to such countries. Why can't we create that infrastructure in our own country? Why can't we use the resources that we have available today? We have the huge talent, we have the human resource capital that is available, we have natural resources that are available. It is only the intention to create this and the will to create it that is lacking here. And I would expect that from the current generation. And these are huge areas for startup entrepreneurs to look at what are the common problems that the society is facing and whether you can come up with solutions that can be scaled up and made profitable and add value to the nation. Here, looking up also means that look up at role models, look up at mentors, try to imbibe good attributes of those role models and mentors so that you then personally start evolving. The next up is to team up. Most of us know that it's a very, very critical factor in the corporate world, and we need to have the ability to work in teams. But teaming up also means that you team up in every phase of your life, whether it is on the personal side, on the social side, as well as on your professional side, because that will help you in not getting burnt out. And today, while we are looking at the pipeline of women in the workforce, while we see a huge entry of women in the entry-related roles, we do not see them climb the ladder because of various challenges that are thrown to them in their lives. And this is because we do not create enough support systems. We do not create enough teams. And that's the reason why we feel burnt out. And the first thing that we like to sacrifice is our career. And that, I think, is going to be detrimental to the future of this nation. So please ensure that you start teaming up everywhere so that you can delegate the irrelevant works to the team members and you start adding value where your value is the worth the most. The fifth up is very, very essential again for girls, which is don't give up. And essentially, the girls are the first people who are the ones to give up. And what they give up their career, because today we need more economic participation to the nation. And this is the place where girls give up, because that is the first thing they would love to sacrifice and stay back, become homemakers. In fact, I will share a very funny statistic with all of you that India is number one on an index, which actually measures the number of most overqualified homemakers. So what does this mean? That we as a nation are actually investing in our girl child by educating them, but we are not enabling them to pursue their careers and sustain at their careers. So my definite urge to all of you is that please don't give up. Take career breaks if it is necessary. take a back step if necessary at different phases in your life, maybe when you get married or when you have children or when you're at a certain stage, when your children require you, or when you come to a stage where you have elderly parents to take care of. But always ensure that you remain relevant to the workspace and that you continue to be an economic participant to the nation, because that is how we can then start building our country to become the #1 country in this world, so that we also have fantastic infrastructure. We also have the resources that we can deploy to create much more value to every citizen of this country. And finally, the last stop that I will conclude with is very, very critical for leadership. And a true leader does not create too many followers behind them. It's not like, you become a star on Instagram or on Facebook and you have 1 million followers, or maybe 10 million followers. That is not what a true leader is. A true leader is a person who creates many, many more leaders under them. And that's what the last up is, that when you come to a level, you should ensure that you lift others up so that they also get the opportunities that we have had the privilege of taking and shaping forward. So these are the few things that I thought I will bring a different flavor to this topic today. I know that the IOD has been playing a vital role in creating board diversity in companies. I think prior to 2014, board diversity was very, very poor in the country, and whatever representation women had on boards was probably because of maybe because they were part of the family, or because they knew the promoters and that's how they came onto it. But today the system has actually changed. From 2014, if you have looked at especially the listed companies, the representation has gone up substantially. But what was actually very surprising is just recently, the Honorable Minister, Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, had made a statement that she actually had asked a few women to be directors on boards, and they were not, they were inhibited and they were not very accepting of it. I don't think that this is a world, a phenomenon that is there prevalent all over the country. In fact, today companies are actually looking for relevant women who can add value to their boards. They are looking at highly qualified women that can add value to their boards, and there is no dearth of such women today. But one has to have the will and the intention to search for those women, to reach out for them and to bring them on board, so that their perspective and the values that they can add to their boards and to those company organizations will definitely benefit everybody. So I would like to urge even IOD to maybe start reaching out to a lot of women. I know that the country has mandated all independent directors to take a board ready test, a board ready governance test. And if you have qualified on that, then you are readily, you can be readily accepted to sit on a lot of company boards. A lot of public sector companies have also been lacking in getting female representation. And it is just not enough that you have just one lady director on the board. It is better that you have 2 or 3 of different diversity. This is where as diverse the board is, that much better you will be able to get the inputs from them, because they might come from different industrial backgrounds, they might come from different academic qualifications, they might have different experiences throughout their professional careers, and the value that they bring from this will be really beneficial to these boards. So I thought, let me stop here, and I do not want to repeat all the good things that all the earlier speakers have said, but I'm sure that each speaker will bring such good key takeaways for the young participants today that they will definitely move forward. They will take on the responsibility of shaping the nation in the coming years, so that tomorrow on any of the indices that we are being measured, whether it is the Global Gender Parity Index whether it is the Global Innovation Index, whether it is the Ecosystem Index, that we should be in the top 3 positions worldwide. And being in the top 3, only then will there be a host of opportunities for the youngsters that are being churned out today out of every academic institution. Today, I mean, all of us are talking about the demographic dividend. Let us hope that that demographic dividend will bring value to the nation as a whole. So with that, thank you to IOD and to the entire team for inviting me over today and for sharing my thoughts with all of you. I wish everybody all the best. I'm sure that the country will also see a lot more unicorns, a lot more startups come out. And I would love for women to be heading these unicorns and these startups. And on that note, I will wish all of you a very, very, very happy International Women's Day for this coming March 8th. But let us treat every single day as a Women's Day. Let us have men who can champion us, who can encourage us, and who can walk with us hand in hand towards a better future. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for very powerful enlightening us with your excellent keynote address. Really very inspiring. And I do believe in the 6 ups of leadership. I take pride in introducing our associate partner, Mr. Shambashiva Rao Garu, Managing Director, Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited to you. Mr. G. Shambashiva Rao is the Managing Director of Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited based out of Visakhapatnam. Born in 1960, Prakasham district, he holds an MCom from Andhra University and a PG diploma in Export and Import Management, Marketing and Sales Management. Holds about 40 years of experience in shipping industry by handling end-to-end logistics. Runs 2 container freight stations at Visakhapatnam. They are #1 in warehousing and handle different cargoes about 1 million ton per year. He also got many awards and rewards from different organizations, that is Visakhapatnam Port Trust, Visakhapatnam Customs, etc. Has held various positions as past President, AP Chamber of Commerce and Indian Industry Federation, past Chairman, CII, past President, Visakhapatnam Customs House Agent Association, and involved with more than 15 organizations in different capacities. Presently, working as Vice President, National Association for Container Freight Stations. He's also a member and State Advisory Committee, Institutes of Director in Andhra Pradesh. Request you to please address the gathering, sir.
Thank you, Lakshmi, and good afternoon, all the friends. I'm very happy to see all the known people on the screen, especially Leela, Bhavni, and even Bhavni Kadyala, because we have association with CII. I know as a leader, she is there in all the activities, the way she does, and Mr. Ramesh Garu will do a lot because we are good friends. This is the opportunity for us to interact each and every one. At the same time, today, in connection with International Women's Day, we have the topic IOD has taken is a right one, and especially the way Bhavni Kadyala Garu has presented 6 ups. So 6 ups in the leadership, because leadership, some people are born leaders, some people, as per the situation, they become the leaders. See, opportunities are everywhere. Those who can took the opportunity, they only can be the leaders. So when the problem is there, then we see who can take the lead and sort out the problem, he becomes a leader. That's what I believe in my career. When we are working in the 40 years in the industry, up to 98, I also used to work for different companies. When we start the challenge, yes, we are mentally prepared to work in a right direction, mentally to prepare to take all the risks. Entrepreneurship is not that easy. It is really challenging. If someone wants to take the entrepreneurship, mentally prepared to face all the music. And in the entrepreneurship, I can tell you about 70-75% people will be the failures. 20-25% only will be the success. Out of 20-25, only 5 people only the key success people. All other people, medium success. Many people will forget who are the failure people, but only key persons like our Leela Garu, Bhavni Kadyala, all these people, they come up in the life because definitely we want to encourage, we want to see those people who have the intention to come up in the right direction. Definitely, the country right now, lot of challenges are there, lot of good opportunities are there also. We feel it that, that's what we believe. Every challenge is opportunity. If we can turn the challenge as opportunity, definitely we are the people who can show the this world a real a leadership quality. And when you are a real leadership quality, take the things. What I request people who want to do the business, definitely you try to do the business. Then before that, when you want to do the business, you first decide which line of activity you want to do. So in terms of the line of activity, what is the knowledge we have basically? Without having the knowledge, people will be fail you. Even the shipping line, I can see 90% of the shipping company they'll be the failures because they will not have the knowledge about the industry. They will not have the knowledge where the problem comes, which side it will come. So 90% people are failure in the shipping industry. Only 10% people are the success. Out of 10%, 5% people only, they always, success is not permanent. That's what I want to tell everybody. The success is always like a small example I can tell you, like the role of entrepreneurship, the role of businessman is in the circus. You have to maintain the speed in the whatever the well is there in the motorcycle. You have to maintain the speed. If you reduce the speed, you will fall down. Like the businessman, always you have to run. You have to go for expansion. You have to go for see the forward backward integration. Whatever we have to do it. Then only even the present scenario, people will ask, even if you go to logistics sector, if you can take the forward backward integration entire activity, people will respect you. If you take only one activity you are doing, you will not be in the race at all. It may be temporary, but long term, you'll be washed away from the system. So whoever want to come as entrepreneurs, the startups, yes, it is most welcome. Even in the AP chamber, we all are working together, the team, Leela, Hema, and all these people. We want to we are working on basically the Women Entrepreneur Park in the Vijayanagaram district, the collector, Srimati Surya Kumari Garu, IAS, she is kind enough and she takes the lead. She want to support women entrepreneurs. At the same time, our Honorable CEO Chief Minister also want to support the women entrepreneurship. So it is not that easy. It is really challenging. When you are taking the challenge, what I want to request all of you, you decide the line of activity, what you are going to take it up, have proper knowledge on it. Then we have the proper knowledge. If not today, tomorrow you'll be the successful people. Maybe success may come a little bit late, but it will come. Proper knowledge, do that proper teamwork, whatever you're doing. You make your resources in a right direction. And whatever the line of activity you are taking, you see that it will have the future. Because some people, whatever activity they are taking, that will out. You can, whatever activity we are taking today, what we have to add on in the system, that is more important. Otherwise, if you feel we got the success, we are the bosses, that never be there. Even people like Ambassador Car, you can see. Once upon a time, that may be the leader. They may be the market leaders. Now, today, where they are. Because until unless you add on as per the requirement of the society, requirement of the time, you have to, they have to upgrade to the knowledge. Otherwise, Motorola, we have seen how they have collapsed. Like that, even previously, all the photo films and all these things are going today because of the one mobile, all the things are out. Like that, whatever the line of activity you are thinking, it must be long life. It must have the future of it. Like that, take the things in the right direction, plan in a systematic way, do a teamwork, what Madam Vanita Dattala say, the 6 challenges, that is the leadership qualities, you work it out, you take in the right direction. Definitely, I expect you all definitely want to see as a leaders in the society, whatever things are happening, even the political system, the way government is giving the reservation, even the board of directors, as she rightly said, different sector, different people can come up in the life because nothing is impossible. That's what I want to tell everyone. If you think nothing is impossible, definitely you can come up in the life, and at the end of the day, you will be the success leaders and you will be the role model to many of the people. So I wish IOD this International Women Day, the way you have taken the startup for the women entrepreneurs, this program, I wish the program a grand success. Whatever is required, support or guidance, people like us in our field, we are there to support everyone because we want a teamwork. We want a good environment for people to do business here. So I wish all the best. I wish IOD Kanchana Madam for taking the lead, and I wish this program a grand success. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words, sir. Before we get started, let me introduce the second sponsor for today, Ftronic Systems Private Limited. Ftronic System Private Limited, established in 1985, backed by rich R&D, Ftronics is now a leading provider of smart solutions for railways, signaling, smart cities, smart buildings, and industries. We have with us Mrs. Purti Dasari, HR Manager. Mrs. Purti is a learning professional with over 11 years of experience in different fields. She is passionate about building values for organizations through people system and has worked extensively in the area of research and development, process development, and talent development and management. She comes with a degree in electronics and instrumentation from Siddhartha Engineering College, attended AOTS training on best manufacturing process from Japan. She is a member of Young India. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ayodhi, for giving us this opportunity. First of all, I will like to introduce about our company first. So, Ftronic Systems Private Limited, we are 36 years old digital technologies company, and it was founded in 1985. And we are first LED technology. We focused on LED technology, and then we started microprocessor-based LED display boards, first in Asia. And very soon we have grew in the field of data acquisition, converting it into meaningful insights through some home-developed algorithms. And we are developed data loggers and commissioned in Indian Railways, thus bringing in change in signaling department of Indian Railways. Thereafter, Ftronics grew to be a larger supplier of data loggers in railways, and it was networked them in all hierarchical levels. And as it's the largest IoT network in the country. And we are also spreading smart buildings, smart cities, and industrial IoT. And we developed around 100 plus innovation with dedicated R&D team, where we have 50% of employees as females. And our management also encourages main female employees in the higher level positions also. The main core philosophy of Ftronics is inspired by design thinking, which I think many entrepreneurs should also have, like ideate, create, develop, manufacture, deploy, and maintain and upgrade, overseeing the entire life cycle of a product. Accordingly, we have structured our organization with devoted R&D team, with in-house manufacturing and dedicated customer-owned customer support. And also our clients begin as a customers as soon as they transform into the relation, a true customer relation bond. So our strength lies fully in exploring the new technologies. And we are mostly focusing on remote conditioning monitoring, assets monitoring systems, so that they can be do predictive maintenance. Mainly, we believe that whoever ideate, create, deliver, scale, and refine value will sustain for more longer period. So every entrepreneur should think of customer value, like how customer is going to benefit from our product and how we deliver that to the customer and how we scale that one, how we increase the production, like how we market that one and scale the product. And we need to refine that product based on the life cycle of the product. So to achieve those results, we need to deliver some outcomes also. So for that one, we need to follow 3 points. One thing is we need to change our mindsets. One thing is we need to have growth mindset to learn the things, grow the things. And also we need to follow the best practices in the world. And we need to adopt to the new age technologies. Then only we can sustain our companies. So I hope like everyone will take these 3 points and we need to adopt to those things so that we can grow better. On that note, I thank you, IOD, for giving us this opportunity and advance happy Women's Day to one and all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Before we get started, I would like to request everyone that if you have any questions during the session, please type them in the chat box. We shall try to address them at the end of the discussion. It's now time to begin our first interactive panel discussion on growth opportunities and challenges for women startups IT sector. I would like to welcome our speakers. First of all, I would like to welcome the session chair, Ms. Rajeshwari Bhattacharya, co-founder and global head, Percipio, co-founder, Future Road. Ms. Rajeshwari Bhattacharya has around 3 decades of work experience across various sectors from financial services, insurance, and media. She has managed critical portfolios in operations, process engineering and technology with SHCIL, IL&FS, SBI Life Insurance, Principal Financials, and Times of India Group. She has co-founded New Age Process Mining product company Future Root and also plays an advisory role in the blockchain arena as part of the ICOA group within BCM Guru. Prior to this, she led the technology strategy of TOI Group as part of a 4-member committee, including managing technology operations for the biggest radio station in the country. She was instrumental in expanding the radio network from a 7-station presence in India to over 100 stations network across the globe, including the traditional radio and digital radio. She also supports Oscar Foundation, an NGO for education of the underprivileged and for community development in her board advisory role. She's a qualified chartered cost accountant, management graduate from INSEAD, and certification in cybersecurity from Harvard University, a certified ethical hacker, and a blockchain certification from Blockchain Council and Linux Foundation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Jaya, for that, for those kind introduction. And I'm indeed excited to be part of this eminent panel. I'll just make a quick introduction of the panelist. Ms. Vaishali Neotia. She is the co-founder and CEO of Emergence, a deep tech company in the extended reality space. As we understand the metaverse space, she has also co-founded Gold Collar, an AI startup in the manufacturing sector, and consultant for Ashoka, Innovators for the Public. An alumnus of many eminent universities and educational institutions, including the ISB, the Indian School of Business. She is a regular speaker at TEDx on diverse topics. Vaishali, I indeed went through your TEDx talk on the pursuit of happiness. It had some really strong perspectives on the, the overall health issues, battling health issues, including mental health issues. I liked it a lot. And her achievements and awards go on, and it includes the Leadership Award from FICCI and Women Economic Forum. Welcome, Vaishali. Next, we have Lakshmi Mukabili.
Raji.
She is the Managing Director of Patra India BPO Services, with her entrepreneurial journey going beyond the past 15 years. Post her stint in California for 8 years with Softlines Consulting Services and Cyberbills, her relocation meant working with cross-domain solutions. Amongst other things and diverse portfolio she handles, she is now the President Designate for the IT Association of Andhra Pradesh, Head of Women's Forum for Vizag Security Council, member on Advisory Board for Institute of Directors. Amongst other awards and accolades, she is the recipient of the Most Talented Leaders in Outsourcing Industry from Asia Outsourcing Congress. Welcome, Lakshmi. You will have to unmute yourself, Lakshmi. Can the host help Lakshmi unmute herself, please? Unmute her. Next, we have Dr. Bhavni Kadyala. She is indeed multifaceted. We have Bhavni, please.
Yeah, I'm there. Hi.
Yeah. Hello. She's indeed multifaceted with her doctorate in business management with specialization in HR and marketing.
She is the president of Government Blockchain Association, Hyderabad chapter. As part of NatSoft, she brings rich customer experience by designing new ecosystems, business models, and revenue streams. With over a decade of experience in human resource and business development, she has brought in her expertise in blockchain, receiving, amongst other awards, the International Achievers Award for Excellence as Blockchain Business Analyst in Dubai 2019 program on generating global partnership. She is also the board advisor for MSME Business Forum India and mentor for NASSCOM Women Wizards Rule Tech program. As a blockchain enthusiast and professional, I am indeed intrigued by the height track program that you have on the seed transferability.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, like we are working more in depth towards various industries using this blockchain technology. As people are having the different perception on blockchain as a crypto,
True.
I just want to give a very good idea where they can look into the various industries, how really the blockchain helps.
True.
And the transparency and the immutability, the main things.
Thanks for joining in, Dr. Pam.
Yeah, thank you.
I now have Ms. Meetu Samar. She comes with over 2 decades of experience as a reputation consultant. After her contribution to companies like CRISIL, Standard & Poor's, Aditya Birla Capital, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund, and the Great Eastern Shipping, she founded Emergence, a reputation consultancy firm. Meetu serves as an independent director on the boards of Zoom Entertainment, Times Guarantee, and Aegon Life Insurance. She is also the member of Board of Studies of the School of Modern Media and a visiting faculty in many top-tier B schools. Amongst other awards, she has been recognized as one of the 20 most promising women consultants in 2020. Noteworthy in this context, she has mentored over 150 women and young professionals on how to succeed in professional life while maintaining a healthy balance in personal life. So welcome on board, Ms. Meetu. Thank you to the panel for joining in. And without much ado, I would want to jump into listening to your story on your corporate life, how you started the journey, how you went into entrepreneurial journey, and your journey, your progress this far. So let me invite Ms. Vaishali.
Hey, thank you so much for that introduction, Raji. Am I audible? Because
yes,
a lot
Vaishali.
of times I get feedback that that I live in a place which is on top of a traffic signal because it's so noisy. So in case it becomes too much, I'll go on mute. Yes. With regards to my corporate life, so to speak, to be honest, I actually started my company straight after I finished engineering. So, so technically, I mean, that's all I ever did or I've ever known. And, so I set my own corporate rules. In fact, it's only now when I'm consulting with an organization, 40-year-old organization like Ashoka Innovators for the Public, is probably like my first job, where I am working for another organization which has, an already set up structure. So I think the learnings that I'm also getting here compared to my entrepreneurial life are very diverse, very different. An analogy I can think of is, when I started up, it was like somebody threw me into a swimming pool and I just learned how to swim. And going through this, and I'm sure, the other women on this panel, when you go through a corporate experience, it probably is similar, except that you're also, told, okay, this is how you put your hand, this is how you put your leg, this is how you swim, So I think that difference in terms of we end up achieving similar goals, we end up figuring out what we have to do, with the difference that this is more inherent or more organic, because I didn't really have a lot of guidance, and so on the con side, you end up often doing things in a way which may work but may not be the most efficient way to do things, for example. And on the flip side, of course, the jugaad concept also has worked for me. I mean, sometimes, like they say, the most efficient path does not necessarily need to be the shortest one, but the smartest one. So so it's sort of been a very interesting journey for me, both sides. Starting my company, running with it, working with different organizations, going with a very non-jaded perspective, so to speak, in a way which is so new that I am open to learning. I'm open to new ways of things. I feel like, from my perspective, that has been pretty incredible. And maybe from someone else's perspective, they'd be like, that helped me navigate certain things which may have been difficult for someone with pre-existing opinions. But on the other side, of course, working with an organization where there is some sense of structure, where there is some sense of steps outlined. I think that's also very interesting, because it forces you to think in a certain way and and maximize that process as well, rather than just going at it full on. So I just like to say that, yeah, it's been interesting, and I'm just starting to get this side of the table perspective. So good journey so far. Thank you.
Lovely analogy on the swimming part, Vaishali, I should say. Thank you for that. Dr. Bhavni, would like to hear your story, your journey.
Yeah, I started my journey in the year 2008. I just completed my MBA and started working as a HR executive for various companies, first as a consultant to understand how the market is and how the corporate world is, where I can sustain, and all these things was happen. And at the same time, I'm very much passionate in teaching. So I was also been as a guest lecturer for various universities and colleges to understand each individual's feelings, because I just want to do my PhD. So immediately I have taken various routes in the similar lines. But still, yeah, I understand how people are thinking. That is the reason even I have chosen my PhD in the lines of competency mapping, which really gives me a very good idea, how I'll give the best example. Nowadays, whoever learns, even the civil engineer, mechanical engineer, or what are the subject they choose, finally, they leads their journey to IT industry. They feel like it's a comfortable place where they can sit and do their job. But my expectation is when we are learning something from our, I can say from teenage, what we started learning, what we are encouraged to learn, passion to learn, definitely the students are getting diversified once they are reaching certain position. That which it leads something to study on that. So I completed my thesis over those lines. And in the year 2018, again, I just changed my career from HR to business development. As a business analyst, I understand the technology is getting enhanced and changed day by day. So started focusing on emerging technologies, mainly towards the blockchain. That is the area when I have started learning this. Immediately, I got an opportunity from USA, Mr. Gerard Dutch on the LinkedIn, who really gave a support for the women. He encouraged a lot, and he gave an opportunity people to start looking into it, the blockchain and all. By that time in India, most of the people say, no, don't use blockchain word. Pretty something difficult kind of thing. Like I said, no, Baba, now even I could able to understand what blockchain is. Blockchain is having two different phases. Don't worry, you have blockchain in the sense only the cryptocurrency.
I can't agree more, Bhavni. Actually, coming from this space, I think there is a lot of misconception on blockchain being
exactly. So he really gave me a very good sessions for 10 to 15 days. He made me to understand how really the industry helps, how the transparency grows. Again, in the year 2019 and 20, again, people start looking blockchain only in the supply chain area because of the transparency. yes, I do understand the transparency is most important, and the supply chain is there in every industry, that which really gives a support. But still, I can say, like, even in finance or in the other areas as well, we can take the things. I guess we can discuss later. First, the introduction.
Absolutely. I think from blockchain to reputation consultancy, Meetu, would love to hear your nugget of your journey.
Sure. So I spent about 15 years in the corporate world before choosing to become an entrepreneur. So, and you already have talked about the organizations that I worked with. So in the interest of time, I would talk about this whole transition period, because that was very unique, something lovely learning. And in fact, like I would say that the learning curve has been the steepest in the last 7-8 years than it was in my corporate world. And when I started off, one key skill that I thought is necessary to become a great entrepreneur is to have fantastic network. Network so that your clients can come into you, you can get great employees to work with you, you can have right vendors who will associate with you, all of that. And it did indeed help us set the base right at the beginning. But over this journey, what I realized as the transition happened, that one thing that stands out and helps anybody succeed in the transition from a professional to an entrepreneur is leaving your professional imprint on everything that you do. So, Eminence Strategy has all the businesses through references. We don't have a sales team. Everything is an inbound query that comes to us either as a reference from our existing clients who then refer the other industry players, or from my ex-colleagues, right? And every time an ex-colleague calls, they say that we know your work standard. And if you're maintaining even that at Eminence, we are quite certain that the standard would be something that will be a delight. And that's what I keep telling to my team members and also to my mentees, that everything that you do it so well that you leave your professional imprint on it, and then nothing can help you succeed better than a job well done. So that's been my learning, and that's something I wanted to share with you, all of you.
Absolutely well said. Your work is your marketing strategy.
Absolutely.
Lakshmi, eagerly waiting to hear your story.
Thank you, Raji, and a big hello to everyone who are on this session. So I feel like a veteran compared to all these people. I have like over 30 years, and most of my journey was with startups. I mean, though I was not like, employee number one or something like that, but, I did work up with startups. So, I mean, in the US, and then when I came here also. So this was not very different, even though I actually helped in starting the offices in India. It was a wonderful experience, really tough. We never know what was going to happen. We started off like with one client, and that client actually was, who actually was a first angel investor too, right? So they were there. So the initial journey, the other journeys through the startups is I was like a regular employee there. The thing is, you learn to multitask, and there are a lot of things, not like the big corporate. And in fact, till now, it's only this company which has come at least to a medium size, because I remember so well, way back in 2005, he started this company with 4 employees. And I still feel so amazed to say that in India, we are about 4,000 employees now.
Awesome.
So, yes, and across 3 cities. And it's just amazing when we just, sometimes think back, just imagine 4 employees. Would we have even thought that we would grow at this rate? Of course, now we are even, the actual head office is in California, and we have an office even in Philippines. We've really grown. And so this is the only big company I really worked in. All the others were just like startups with like, 200, 300 maximum. Okay. Well, of course, this was much smaller when we started. So this journey, and, the initial days was like, so very tough. And our days would end like, maybe at 11 in the night, because we had to work with the US. And then, maybe very few supporting, or we don't even support them in the night. I'm talking about the beginning stages. and then get up early in the morning again, just to sort of see that, because they are ending the day. So those days was like, just like we hardly ever slept. We don't know when we were sleeping, when we were working, and we were working sometimes 7 days a week. But I think that's what it's all about, when you really start. And it was like such an exciting journey when you even think back, I mean, I never even ever thought, my God, I'm working so hard. Because it was, when you are so passionate and excited about, a journey, I don't think that that's all very secondary. Okay. And I had a very young child at that time. She was only 5. I was very lucky. My parents were taking care of her. I was hardly there. And she was always say, oh, my mother's best friend is her computer, I mean, her laptop. Because I would hardly, except maybe for the weekends, because weekends sometimes, the Sundays, or, we couldn't work because, the systems were down, for maintenance. So pretty much, that was the time, or, a little bit time in the weekends, but hardly anything. But I think, it sort of paid off, and, when I look back, I mean, like what my CEO say, oh my God, Lakshmi, look at the monster we created, starting with like, few people, and look where we have come. So it's always such a, great experience. And, I think it's been a fantastic journey till now.
Amazing progress, Lakshmi. I think I can't but agree on the passion and to kind of corroborate. Yeah, I too am, 3 decades into work experience, but though much, you are a veteran in the entrepreneurial journey. I'm just about 4 years into entrepreneurship. The analogy that Vaishali was giving on the swimming bit, I would probably twist it a little. And it's more like, corporate life offers more of, so to say, you do implementations, deployment, but in safe harbor. But when you get into an entrepreneurial journey, you have unlimited possibilities. And it is like, taking your boat in the ocean all alone.
And lot of risks,
yes. And the most important support, or the aspect of, the courage that I got, was the set of partners and the good people that I work with. I think that's phenomenal. And it's a difference between playing a volleyball game and having an endurance run, as I see it, though I do feel I have the resilience to go on an endless, self-supported run, if I may say so. So true. I think very interesting journey, very, very wide and diverse, from Vaishali jumping into, entrepreneurial journey right away from her management to Lakshmi. I think very nice to hear this. But as you rightly said, a lot of risks, a lot of challenges. And I would now want to kind of maybe start with Lakshmi, because you've been there for, more than a decade. 15 years is long enough. So what are the challenges that you faced? And just throw some light on that.
So, Raji, if you don't mind, let me actually sort of start off with opportunities, because I wanted to be on a positive note.
Absolutely.
Challenges will always be there, So coming to opportunities, I feel opportunities are always there. It's just that, we have to grab them. Okay. I mean, I know there are a lot of people saying, oh, we are waiting for the opportunity. Opportunities are there. Okay. And also it's all within you. Okay. And it's you who can really create those opportunities, whether it's a product or services. I mean, we need to have that guts to really get up and try them. Okay. If you don't, you lose it. So I think it's extremely important, when you talk about opportunities, it's all there. Just don't wait for them. Just jump at it. Okay. And then another thing, the opportunity for us, I mean, as women, in fact, what, I think I briefly heard someone say, but I heard it previously also, when they keep saying women entrepreneurs, even now when we're talking so much about that, this year it's about breaking the bias, right? Do they say men entrepreneurs? No. I think, we should stop that women entrepreneurs. Every time I see when we do this Women's Day, I was wondering, when are we going to stop this Women's Day? I think
can't agree more, Lakshmi.
People are actually, are doing everything, and the more you're going to do this, saying the support and all that, it's always going to be there. We just have to be treated the same way. We are entrepreneurs too. Okay. So, and I think sometimes, women are so much more stronger. When, I mean, the resilience we have, it's just amazing. You know, I remember so well in the beginning when we were started off, and John used to say, Lakshmi, if something really goes wrong, I see that, you'll be the last one to be off the payroll. We're so worried for you and all that. I said, don't be, something will come up, right? And another great opportunity as women we have is, our high emotional intelligence. The empathy factor we have, we are natural leaders, okay? And that's what everyone says now, to be a leader, the first factor you really need is empathy. And especially after what we went through the pandemic, right? So that's like an opportunity. And I just mentioned about, resilience. So all these things, as long as we have that confidence and the drive, I'm telling you, there is no dearth of opportunities. And of course, I know there are some people who mentioned, even the government is doing a lot for the women. So there are still people asking, try to give, some more incentives or loans, from the banks, like, very low interest or, things like that. Maybe they can do it for a little while, especially, for the women who are trying to do from, the villages and the tribal women. But I think generally, we are doing good, okay? And important is we need to think big, and the values we come up with, the culture we have, I'm telling you, there's no dearth of opportunities. Coming to challenges, well, challenges, it's still a little sad, even though we're trying to say no biases, there's still the conscious and the unconscious bias, and on this, I just want to tell you a small thing. When we had started this company, and we just sort of, so initially what we did was we outsourced it because we were not sure how this was going to go. And because if something goes wrong, if we start our own company, winding down is a problem. So we had outsourced it. So as soon as we actually started our own, the company as Patra India, so there are a lot of government stuff to be done. Okay. And then, so for something I had sent our, accountant, and then he said, no, you call your the highest person who's taking care of this, your managing director. So then I went. Then when I went, I said, we asked for a managing director. Why are you, where is your managing director? Where is the man? He said, I said, hello, I'm the managing director here. So you can imagine. Well, of course, this was about what? This was like way back in 2007, 8. But I'm just telling you that this unconscious, bias that, being there, of course, I know it's changed a lot now. It's still there, okay? And the pressure of, social expectation. Even now, there are still people, even in our office, where if they're getting married or, they're having an issue, take care of the kid. Ma'am, what can we do? There's pressure from, home, and how much we try to, convince them. But, we are succeeding. There are a lot of people coming back. And thanks to the maternity leave, which went up to 6 months. And of course, the pandemic did wonders, actually, to tell you the truth, especially for the IT and ITS. I know manufacturing struggled and the hospitality, but for the IT and ITS, working from home, it's just really done wonders. And, like we've been hiring, we've been getting business, no issues, except for the first few months trying to just settle down. Other thing, now people are talking about work-life balance. What work-life balance? Especially for someone who've been in startups, there's no work-life balance as such. You just do what you can. When it's work, you work. When you have time, you spend time with your family. That's it. And I think, it automatically comes through. I think there is no specific thing to just say, work-life balance and all this stuff, Then another big challenge is for especially entrepreneurs who are maybe, very early and, who have to take a lot of risk, like we did, but for us, there's no question of risk anymore now. But I'm just saying, for the early entrepreneurs and even for people who are really working in startups, it's definitely a lot of, risk taking. Thing is, definitely as an entrepreneur, there's no question of being in a comfort zone. You are always running or on your toes. Okay. So something like, comfort zone, because I sort of see some of our, even the senior managers, because after so many years, you just go into that mode. And for me, I think because I've worked so much into startups, I always want to do something. I mean, so the thing is, I'm completely out of operations and administration. I mean, after all this, so in fact, I picked up, things like CSR and, women, coaching and mentoring. So even those, I try to run them like how I used to do it in startup mode. So they would always wonder, what's the hurry? I mean, why? But I think, that's the mindset you go, when you work in those, lines. And then, of course, last but not the least is networking. How important networking is. And that's sort of a challenge. I don't know why it's that way for women. Physical networking, especially, parties. I mean, I went through that in the beginning too. I hated late night parties. I don't drink. So that was an issue, especially because all my colleagues were in the US. They tried so many times trying to mix. I would never go that side. So these issues still, I think, the mindset have to change. I don't know about Vaishali because she's so young. Hopefully, she doesn't have those type of problems. And of course, the social media, people are coming out of it. Extremely important for, entrepreneurship that, you have to be on those because that's the way you get your visibility. And without visibility, you can't really advance. So these are my few takes on challenges and opportunities. Thank you.
Great pointers there, the socio-cultural challenges, the networking. I am keen, Meetu, what has been your take on the challenges and, touch upon that?
Sure. I think we have a group which is quite like-minded already. So yeah, the way I also look at challenges, okay, fine, it exists, but then what are the solutions around it? So the way, if I were to talk about challenges, I would bucket it under three, groups. First was self. All of us are always in self-doubt, right? And also the clarity in terms of, is this what I want to offer? Is this the problem that I intend to solve? And with continuous changes in information flow, continuous change in requirements, every time you are in doubt that the niche that you identified, is that good enough? Do you need to expand? Do you need to, retract? All that, right? So continuous self-doubt or self-introspection that is required, which kind of, brings in lack of clarity. And a lot of times we end up making incorrect decisions. So I think that is one of the big challenges that possibly all of us in some form or the other as entrepreneurs would have experienced. I experience it a lot. But the solution towards that I could find was around self-discipline. So having the clarity and also staying on to it, but also knowing that when to let it go, right? Not holding on because I have to hold on to this, right? So having that clarity is very important, and that comes from self-discipline. The second challenge I would like to highlight is around talent. And all of us, again, would be facing that challenge of having a great team or a talent, and none of us are enough, right? And we are nothing without our team, right? Like I strongly believe, and I keep telling this to my team also, that I am because you are. So, and eminence is because all of us are. So very, very important to find the right set of people whose value system matches with yours, or the organizations rather, and also retain them. So again, some immaturity that initially when I was not able to retain some good talent, again, a lot of self-doubt, self-questioning will start coming in. But I was talking to my mentor, and recently what happened is one of my good resources chose to leave us and join one of the top consulting firms in the country. So I was having a chat with my mentor, and he said that, why are you worried about it? You should be celebrating, pat your back, because you are doing such great training and giving such a fantastic exposure, despite being a smaller organization, that the world's largest consulting company is looking to hire talent from you. So, take a moment, pat your back. And I was like, oh yeah, so let's celebrate. So it's not only about getting the right people or retaining them, but building a right culture. And that is hence become our focus, that we focus greatly on the kind of culture we are developing within Eminence, and not really making it individual specific, rather making it organization specific. And the third challenge is around technology, because so much conversation is happening around A, process improvement, but B, continuous chatter around fundraising, and most of the ed tech company, logitech company, food tech company, all some tech company raising some obscene amount of money, that you start feeling that what are you doing? Right? And how do you also again justify to your team members that, why are we not raising so much fund when everybody else is raising, and why don't we have a tech play? So that was one of the constant doubts that I was also having, that do we really need to have a tech play? Because the industry that we operate in is consultancy and advisory. So the role of technology hence becomes relatively limited. That was my earlier perception. However, again, with a lot of analysis and understanding, I have understood that there can be a tech play here too. And we are developing a very promising tech play, which is A, going to improve our processes, and B, enabling our customers to, get better service and understand reputation in a more scientific manner than making it very subjective. So these were the three key challenges, I would say: self, team, and technology. But broadly, we are able to find our niche somewhere or the other, and we are going around. I'm quite certain things will shape up promisingly.
Nice to hear that. The focus on technology, the aspect of bringing in science to reputation. Very interesting points there, Meetu.
Thank you.
I do agree on a lot of challenges that you pointed out. So, Vaishali, in your journey, what have you to share?
How much time do we have? I mean, it's been more than a decade, and I probably have like hours and hours worth to share as everybody here. And I'm quite impressed with how how Meetu and Lakshmi were able to summarize it so concisely. But I just want to pick off of something that Meetu was saying, before I go into, I'll try to concise some of the challenges I've gone through. Something she said about this perception around funding and this peer pressure, so to speak, in the media and all of this. And there's again a very interesting analogy I'd like to share here, which I share with a lot of my, mentees and young people who are trying to start up. I think the startup journey is sort of like a road trip. So it's important to be fueled, and it's important to, make sure that the car doesn't stall. But the journey is not about how many petrol pumps you've gone to and how long you've spent there and how much you filled up, right? The journey and the destination is somewhere else. And it's the journey that you're basically, enjoying and creating value in. And it's that sort of, the entire road trip is about the process and wherever your destination or milestones may be, but it's definitely not the petrol pump. And I think a lot of people who are looking at entrepreneurship and its glamorous version, they're not being shown, and they also sometimes forget the other side, which is, raising money is not really, it's not a goal. It's and a lot of people say that it's just starting point of several other issues, but it's really not a goal. And and being able to say get acquired or selling your company to somebody else, we don't know the entire story. We don't know what was given and taken and what the exchange was. So just seeing it from a one-sided perspective, it's like a Facebook life, the kind of things we read on Facebook. People are not sharing everything in their lives. You can't. You would like to, and also you would logically just like to share the good things, but that doesn't mean that that's encapsulating everything. And so I feel that everybody who's on this startup journey or wherever it is, and even personally, success and metrics and measurements, these are all often, they are very subjective and they're very unique. And so defining these for yourself, for your team, as Meetu was saying, bucketing it into, say, these separate things, I think that's really important, not just for what you want to achieve, but also for your mental health. Otherwise, you'll always be in this vicious loop of, I should have done that. Hypothetically, there are a million things we can do, but decisions are good or bad only in hindsight. When you're taking it, the important thing is to take the decision. As everybody here would say, it's if you keep second guessing yourself and the imposter syndrome, which all of us have pretty much gone through, I'm pretty certain, it's just counterproductive. I mean, it's useless at the end of the day. One of the ways that I would deal with something like that is, yeah, I mean, I have my moments of second guessing myself, wasting time, going around in vicious loops inside my head. And at the end of the day, you just have to sort of get on with it, and there's no other option, because you can't be in that limbo, and you can't not take a decision, because then it'll be taken for you, which may not have you in control. And so I think one of the biggest challenges has been, I mean, external demons are several, but internal demons are probably like the biggest challenge that that I have experienced. Where energy is often drained in overthinking or second guessing situations, and and like Lakshmi was saying earlier, there's so many opportunities, but we could just lose sight of them or lose them if we spend too much time in evaluating this. You can only sort of understand or do the best with what you know and move on. That said, I think at least from an entrepreneurial perspective and looking back again, I would say like there are 4 things which definitely any entrepreneur needs to start out with, irrespective of where you're doing it, what you're doing. You've got to have a mentor, and Meetu mentioned it as well, right? Like having somebody to soundboard off of, having somebody who has the kind of experience that Lakshmi has. There's great wisdom in sort of learning from other people's experiences, and just having somebody to soundboard off of. It's not that they're right and you're wrong, but perspective is important, and having a little bit of guidance is incredible. Having a support system in that sense, ecosystem support, which is a lot more today than it was earlier. As Lakshmi was mentioning a little earlier, this thing about the alcohol and the bonding that happens in these parties. There's actually research which says people bond over collective sinning. So you'll see in a lot of offices, there is this smoking area and people are smoking and they're bonding. At parties, it's alcohol. So whenever and over gossip, for example, or, if you're introducing one friend to the other, you're the common point, and it'll always start with these two bonding by saying something negative about you, which is fun and in jest, but there's psychology behind it. We bond over collective sinning. So a lot of these things, understanding where you are and how much of this you want to partake of, or what are the other avenues of doing this, a lot of this really, that guidance really helps. So I would definitely say that having a mentor is very important, irrespective. Having money for sure, because, even if it's a tech startup, we imagine, when I started, we were like, hey, very little CapEx, we just need a computer. True, but to sustain, to be able to grow it to any level, to be able to hire the right people, to pay salaries, to not have to keep worrying about where, or whether we'll be operational tomorrow or not. It's very important, to be able to have your basics sorted. In any economy, in any situation, you only innovate and you thrive when your basics are taken care of. You can't expect people to be, creating rockets when they don't have food to eat, right? Like just as a very rough example there, but having a sort of a sound base to make sure that even you are not compromising. A lot of founders have this habit of not taking salary and and constantly sacrificing. It's fine if you can manage, but you need to have some sense of where that's coming from as well, right? You also need to be able to function, and so I think that financial backing is very much needed, and if you don't have it right now and if you're unable to arrange it, then offset starting a company, delay it till there is some sense of that, because otherwise you'll be in a catch-22 situation. Often decisions taken will be out of desperation, and that's not very advised for this sort of a thing, right? And I'd also say that for any challenge, I think having the right mindset is important, and this is something we all learn from experience. But just having the reception, or the ability to be able to deal with things as they come, and the ladies here have already talked about that, right? Like challenges aate hain. You have to deal with it. So having that mindset that failure is okay, and again, society doesn't help, and failure is defined in so many ways, but failure is okay, and then how do you sort of get up and move on from there?
Can't agree more
mindset.
On the mindset and the mentor, accelerating learning.
Mindset, the mentor, the money, and a little bit of masochism. You've got to be able to self-torture if any challenge has to be overcome. So yeah, that's what I would basically go with.
Bhavni, what is your take on the challenges? You are on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Like I was unable to unmute me. Yeah, most of the points have been covered, but just I want to give the basic of this. Like first, we need to support all the girl child to get educated first. That is the first and foremost thing that which I want to give the thing, because as an MSME advisor, I have observed many of the startups, women startups, who don't have the exposure. They are in the different industries. Like most of the women, I can say, either they go with the art and craft or the food items or the school educational background, these kind of businesses only, because they know what all the challenges and what all the opportunities that they can, because they are well experienced as a I can say as a woman, we know as a mother, as a sister, or as a friend, how we need to be. So that is the reason most of the women choose the areas where they are exactly connected with. But before that, definitely a girl child need to get educated first. They should have an exposure. They should come up with, I guess, with this wonderful session, IOD will give a separate platform for the women for their exposure, to give them a platform where small SMEs or the women entrepreneurs who are not able to come out and expose their products or the services that which they want to provide. This will really gives them a lot of changes in the society and give more opportunities for everyone. So just I want to cover only these points. Thank you.
Great pointers, and couldn't agree more on the self aspect. I think most women hold back themselves.
Exactly.
They tend to think that they are the central figure unless you move out of the situation and allow the others to be independent. I think it's important that sometimes we need to be selfish. We need to understand that there are other things that we should be doing as well. And the aspect, I think Lakshmi put it very well on the socio-cultural aspect and the way you're perceived. A lot depends on how you perceive yourself, that the world perceives you. So it's important to display that confidence and the learning, constant learning is something, be it mentor, be it other sources. I think that's something that cannot be denied. On the funding aspect, my take would be, it's also important to understand when is the right time to dilute or when is the right time to kind of fundraise, right? So otherwise you get into a raw deal. So, so to say, in the especially in the IT sector, if we see there are two separate kinds of companies, if I might put it that way, a service and a product. So service entails a lot of, your cash churn is very high and your investment on human intelligence, and then you kind of generate resources, revenue on top of it. Now, as against a product company where you have to upfront invest and then revenue, it's a deferred revenue model. So to be able to understand the tech and the finance part, possibly we may not have a package. So again, I would like to emphasize on the right partners, finding the right partner and being able to partners, the ecosystem, that coherence, that working as a family. It's also a family that we are part of. So that those aspects are extremely critical. And maybe I'll start with Meetu in terms of any other opportunities, more on the opportunities and the recommendation before we quickly wrap up on a very positive note. Meetu and Vaishali and Bhavni and Lakshmi, please.
So when it comes to growth opportunities, like I was saying, that now, see, in this always on world, reputation has become central theme, right? Like, so whichever industry you are in, whatever be your role, reputation plays a central role in the growth and sustenance of any organization. So that's a great news for us, and hence, presents fantastic growth opportunities. Whatever matters must be able to get measured. And that's exactly we are now trying to do, measure, give a very scientific approach to measurement of reputation, and for which we are launching this tech play, like I mentioned earlier. So these are 2-3 growth areas that we are seeing for our organization and our kind of industry. And quite certain that this is going to take central theme because of the developments that I outlined earlier. Talking about the recommendations, and especially the recommendations to other women leaders, like you had mentioned, Raji. First and foremost, I am extremely happy to share that more than 60% of Eminence's employee base comprises of women. So, and it's not by design, it's absolutely by default. So we really take a lot of pride in, thinking that a amount of women talent lies with us. But if I were to give any recommendation for them to grow in the leadership roles, or at least be in the pipeline, first of all, that will be twofold. Number one, that as employers, we have to be fair. Because we know women are poor negotiators, whether it comes to salaries or to the roles, right? So they don't really negotiate well. But as employers, we will have a better picture and a bigger picture. So while we couldn't do it at our time, we couldn't negotiate well for ourselves, at least we can be fair and give equal opportunity to the merit, not really make the decisions based on gender. So I'm not saying that be favorable to women as gender, but give equal opportunity to the merit. So that's the first recommendation I would say. Before giving it to the others, it should be implementable to us. And the second thing that we must do is be a role model, and especially a role model to our own daughters, their friends, and to our mentees. Because it is so easy to read about, accomplished women through social media, through excellent books that are in place, but still they are quite godlike, right? Where you really, some of us who believe in God, really have read a lot about them and prayed them, right? Similarly, we have heard great things about extraordinarily accomplished women and truly admire them. But when my daughter sees me walk the talk, when my daughter sees my struggles being real and my success being real, when her friend sees that, when my mentees see that, I think, the next generation will be way better, prepared to deal with the corporate world, whether in the entrepreneurship or in an employment. So these are the two thoughts that I wanted to share.
Lovely thoughts there, Meetu.
Thank you.
Vaishali?
Yeah, I think Meetu's made some great points, especially the bit about walking the talk and practicing what you preach. I definitely agree that with growth opportunities, you've got to be looking out for yourself. You've got to look at opportunities, people around you, and one of the mantras that I personally follow is at every point in life, there's someone you can learn from and someone who can learn from you. And I think just recognizing that and being willing to unlearn, learn, and relearn, all of these, they go a long way. And today, I mean, more than ever before, there are so many organizations which are offering leadership courses, specifically for women as well. And, upskilling, or, going back to work, for example, or, going to another, post, for example. And it's not just, the early avenue of you have to go through a B school to change where you are, change your level, all of that. I think a lot of that has changed today. And especially with, with this startup culture and with all these companies, unicorn startups, with all of this funding, there's so many roles available now, and they're willing to sort of take that risk, and have people who are, or just get people quickly to sort of go on that rocket fast journey with them. And I would just say that, keeping that idea of keeping your ego somewhere else and going with the genuine learning mindset of willing to sort of even unlearn if required, or upskill or relearn. I think that's really where we can all grow as ourselves and in anything that we're doing. So yeah,
Lakshmi, You want to add some things? Any recommendation to?
Well, I think I already just sort of told something, but then you know what? I just, a couple of them, what I wanted to tell is, one thing I know, the later generation coming up, I would say like Generation Z, who just sort of, entered like last year or maybe a year before into the workforce. These people actually, right from the college days, most of them are already know what's entrepreneurship and already people are trying. So I don't know if we really need to give them any advice. And I've just noticed that, they actually already feel they're pretty superior. I mean, this is, for example, my daughter itself, she, first of all, they don't really distinguish so much between a man and a man and a woman at all. They just, I would say just go out for drinking together. And, they're just like friends. There's no, girls and boys, so that's one good thing, so hopefully that women entrepreneurship will be go away. So and that's, definitely thing is that confidence, I think, is definitely already coming up. It's only for the people who are already there, or, who are there from the previous generation, who might need a little bit of that nudge, to sort of, that you can do it. But I don't know if those people really need that. And the people who are actually still sort of trying at a later age, someone like who started so late as me might still feel that, don't feel inferior than men, because nowadays there are so many studies telling that women with their, resilience and empathy and, the way they look at everything, they're far superior. In fact, today I was just hearing something in NATCOM. Someone was saying, what do you think about, women as entrepreneurs? Women should be coming and kick the butt of the men, they said. I mean, I'm sorry about it, but that's the way they're looking at. I mean, like, nowadays they feel that it's going to be move over. We are coming there, So I think, things are going in the right direction. Not much to really say for the new entrepreneurs who are really coming, but for the older people who are really trying, just, have the confidence and the willpower to do it. Okay. And find your mentors. I know you people already mentioned, because that's one of the most important thing, the mentors, because even if they're actually the new generation which comes in, you will always be stuck somewhere. Sometimes you go through the bad time, and the mentors is so great, because when we were there, I mean, we didn't have any mentors that time, and of course now I do mentor quite a lot of people, but I'm just saying, so that's extremely important. From my side, I think that's it. Thank you, Raji.
Thank you, Lakshmi. Bhavni, any few recommendations from your side?
Yeah, thank you. So I can say only one thing: the confidence and the smart work should be there from the woman end, and should be ready to counterfeit the men who wants to dominate when we are trying to do something and give suggestions which are really important. So these are the main things which I want to tell. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bhavni. Very, very interesting, very divergent views, I would say there. So, I think it's important, as Lakshmi mentioned, it's very encouraging to see the next gen moving along. There isn't any gender disparity, so to say, or an acknowledgement of gender differentiation in that sense, which is very encouraging. And I think it's important that as much as, we need both genders to go, to walk hand in hand, it's important to acknowledge that both genders support each other in more ways than one. That acknowledgement is going to help, bridge things. There are qualities from qualities within men that we still could imbibe, and vice versa. I think it has to be a coherent environment wherein we work hand in hand, and the next gen is getting it right. And we will definitely not have a Women's Day in future, for possibly, Lakshmi. So on that note, if there are any questions, Kanchan?
I don't see any questions. I think you all covered everything very precisely, very clearly, and with so much of depth. I think we are all blown away.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And Vaishali.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening and weekend.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. all.
I hope there are no questions. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box. If no, we'll move ahead. Thank you all for your wonderful speakers for such excellent and interactive panel discussion. It was pleasure hearing, all those discussion. And we would now like to request play the AVs of our associate partners, Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited, followed by Ftronic Systems Private Limited.
A vibrant company with rich history, Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited is an ISO 9001-2008 certified company with rating NS4, CRISIL rating of NSIC CRISIL IA on March 22nd, 2013 for highest performance capacity and high financial strength. Established at Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, India in August 1997 with seed capacity of ₹5 lakh, Visakhapatnam was chosen as strategic location as there is a natural port. The port is a natural gateway to the vast industrial market of the Far East countries too. Shravan Group has a large customer base covering various industries: fertilizer, raw materials, chemicals and pharma, food grains, coal, iron ore, steel, cement, petroleum products, sugar, paper products, etc. And has specialized in handling bulk cargo at Vizag Port and Kakinada Port. Containerized cargo at Vishaka Container Terminal Private Limited, Visakhapatnam. From roots in emerging markets, Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited, logistic chains in some of India's most challenging environments, offering unmatched personal services, a national footprint and customized capabilities in India. Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited is one of the India's leading providers of integrated logistics with more than 500 permanent and 700 contractual employees in Visakhapatnam and Kakinada. Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited is the first company in Andhra Pradesh to start state-of-the-art container freight station in private sectors in 2004 and serving its clients efficiently in containerized cargo, and also a leading warehousing services provided in private sectors in South India and having own warehousing facilities in Vizag, adjacent to Gangavaram Port and Kakinada to cater the needs of imports and exports through Vizag Port, Gangavaram Port, and Kakinada Port, with about 10 lakh square feet of closed warehousing space, besides having an overall 25 lakh square feet of open yard for stacking and storing of containers, bulk and break materials. Since its inception in the year 1997, Shravan Container Freight Station is having world-class infrastructure with refreshingly different players. Key role in development of infrastructure facilities at Visakhapatnam and Kakinada of Andhra Pradesh state, in the eastern region, complying to the best industrial standards, catering to the logistic needs and focused on outstanding services, designed as a gateway through which companies can manage their entire supply chain logistics. The logistics services of the company provides multifunctional facilities for storage, distribution, transportation, ancillary support services, and trade facilitations, all under one roof for end-to-end logistic support. Customers can count on us and expect a performance which outclasses the most important players in the market. Objective assessment shows time and again that Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited has mastered the logistics trade. Our other business verticals are stevedoring, shipping agencies, cargo handling, and warehousing, custom house agencies, and end-to-end logistics services. The growth story has never been a cakewalk. Many factors has contributed to it crossing milestones with excellence, with preferred ideal CEFS for trade in its hinterland covering 7 states with 700 kilometers. Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited has indeed come a long way. There's much more to happen in coming days. Growth can be seen from the way the business looks, with its new thoughts and new segments are lined up for the expansion. Being the logistic leader in Visakhapatnam, the aim of Shravan Group to create logistic facility in the entire East Coast ports in India. In this connection, in the first phase, Shravan Group investing around rupees 390 crores for the established logistic facilities, for which our group already signed Memorandum of Understanding with the Andhra Pradesh State Government under the 2016 CII Partnership Summit.
Thank you, ITT. Now it's time to begin our next interactive panel discussion on enabling ecosystems for women entrepreneurship. First of all, I would like to welcome the session chair, Ms. Sandhya Deepa, Director T-Hub. Ms. Sandhya Deepa is the Director of Strategy and Operations at T-Hub. She holds more than 20 years of extensive experience in leadership and strategic roles in renowned and diverse organizations such as ONGC, Hexagon, Deloitte, and ISP. She brings deep experience in developing, leading, and implementing strategy and priority initiatives, enabling business planning, nurturing key stakeholder relationships, delivering business insights, and people development. At T-Hub, she is focused on creating a robust ecosystem for early stage startups to help accelerate their growth by bringing together startups, corporates, investors, and other ecosystem players. She drives alignment across business units for achieving business objectives, creates enabling process, and drives excellence through identification and execution of high priority initiatives. Now, I request Ms. Deepa to initiate and proceed with the discussion. Over to you, ma'am.
Very good afternoon, Lakshmi. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. And it is with great pleasure that I would like to now introduce my co-panelists who all have come with really stellar achievements in different across different walks of life through what I would call the road less traveled. So, probably I'll start off with Leela Raniala. She is the director of Lee Pharma. Welcome, Leela. Leela is a US FDA and EU GMP approved. She is the director of Lee Pharma, which is a US FDA and EU GMP approved pharma company with presence across manufacturing of APIs, semi-finished dosage forms, and other finished formulations. She also is one of the directors of Lee Health Domain, again a company involved in the retailing and distribution of nutraceuticals and Ayurveda products. She's also been appointed as a chairperson of Women Entrepreneurship Subcommittee of AP Chambers with a vision to really create better empowerment in women. She's also working with JCI India as a Vice President Impact 2030 for JCI Vizag Steel City, spearheading projects for effective segregation and disposal of e-waste, and also leading many other initiatives to further the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So once again, a very warm welcome, Leela.
Thank you, Sandhya. Good evening.
Our next panelist is Himabindu. Himabindu is the founder and managing director of Novel Patents. Again, as the name is, it's self-explanatory, offering unique business solutions in what I may call the complex domain of intellectual property rights and patents, with 15-year experience in this domain. Again, she's also a registered Indian patent agent as well as a technology transfer professional, one among the very few from India. She's also the co-founder and managing director of Novel IPR Academy and Novel Innovation Design Studio. She's on the steering committee of NRDC, EC member on the board of the Institutional Committee for Stem Cell Research, and a guest faculty on the panel of Ministry of MCME, Government of India. She has been awarded with Exceptional Women of Excellence by the Women's Economic Forum at The Hague, and has many other accolades to her credit. A very warm welcome, Hima.
Thank you so much, Sandhya.
Then our next panelist is Meghna. Meghna Khan is the founder of MK Counseling Services, with a professional journey dating more than 20 years in the education industry, navigating different roles across different functions in the education industry, backed by a global experience across education startups, corporate houses, NGOs, and other international institutes across multiple countries. She's also a certified life coach and a career counselor with significant experience in this space. She has, after more than 15 plus years of working in various organizations, she has taken the plunge, and she had, with the starting of her journey and really focusing on providing career guidance, counseling, and coaching. We'll hear more from Meghna, I'm sure, as we go forward in the discussion. A warm welcome, Meghna. Our next panelist is Kirti Chikoti. She's a co-founder of Chikoti Bio-Organic Products. She is also an executive member of the Confederation of Women Entrepreneurs, where she trains and guides new entrepreneurs. She started Czech Organics in 2016 with the focus of directly selling organic produce to the consumer. She has been into organic farming for the past 14 years. And she's also formulated and made branded skincare, hair care, and many other wellness products under the brand name Czech Organics. A warm welcome, Kirti, to this discussion. Thank you again, everyone, for being a part of the panel. A warm welcome to the audience. Let's get started. So I think we have a lot of ground to cover today. But I thought it would be best to start by maybe looking back, looking back at each of your journeys, where you started to where you are now. I mean, how do you see that progress? What are some key things that stand out for you, key moments, milestones, which would probably, set a good context to what we could discuss in the next several minutes. So, yeah, I mean, maybe we could start with you, Leela.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening to all the distinguished members here. And if there are any students or people who are aspiring to, start a startup. So first of all, let me tell you, I am from a family business. So I have taken up, after finishing my master's in biotechnology from BITS Pilani, I wanted to pursue my PhD, go abroad, and, like everybody else, I wanted to, do some postdoc and do a very good career in research. But then I realized that this company, which was, founded by my parents, so both my mom and dad, so it was really there, the pillars of foundation on which this company is laid today. And we are two of us, my brother and myself. So we thought that, we should continue this organization, and it is the mere hard work and the values which they believed in, through which this organization was established. So I stayed back. I joined the company as an employee. So, I will tell you how this is related to a startup. So this is also a kind of startup to me, because I just joined as an employee, and how I actually paved a path where I have finally, reached a position of a director. So it was initially very tough, because being a biotech student, and I just jumped into pharma, and more into the technical part of it. I was into the regulatory. So I was actually sitting at the table and compiling all the dossiers and all the files of the product which we're going to register in different countries. So I've learned it, the proper bench work. So once I started doing this, and then I realized that it is very important for us, even though we are in the management, we are one of the promoters, but when you're entering an organization, it is very important to have a very good knowledge about what you're doing. So like previously, just before one of our sessions, Samsura Garu was telling that, you need to be really knowledgeable about what you're trying to do. So, so I thought I need to equip myself. I need to understand what this is all about. So pharma is a related field to biotech, but I'm totally not aware of the pharmaceutical formulations. So it was right from beginning, right from the production house, going to the machines, learning how the machines work, learning how a tablet is formulated, learning how a capsule is produced. So all these things are a good learning experience, and over a period of time, you understand the nuances of the business. So this is how, almost like for the last 15 years, I have come to this position. And now I realize, being a woman, being a daughter, even in family business, it is a difficult place to be in. Like, when there are sons and daughters, you have to, carve a place for yourself, because it is almost like obvious that, the son is going to take up the next position. But my parents were different. They are different. So it is merely on how you work on yourself and how you create a place for yourself. So that is what I would like to share with everybody, that, it is within us to understand where our challenges are, where our opportunities are. Everything is there around. So it is us who have to pick up these opportunities and just take it over from there. So this is a very regulatory, because this is the healthcare sector. There are a lot of compliances. There is a lot of regulatory requirements, and quality is the utmost thing which we need to adhere to. So this brings in a lot of discipline in your life. So I am the kind of person, I always believe in imbibing the values, whether it is from your personal life or from your professional life. If there is something good to learn and practice, I think we should definitely take it on and make sure that we practice in our lifestyle. So it is everything is like a continuous learning experience. So every day and every person is a new experience for us. So how we filter out things and how we actually evolve as a good human being. So I think I will discuss it later on, but I'm just telling you that how I've traveled from this position of an employee to a director, and then this recently I've taken up this chairperson for AP Chambers Women Entrepreneurship Committee. So this is a very good opportunity and a very enriching experience, though it has been very, little time which I've been working on it. I got to network with a lot of women, lot of people, and lot of stalwarts in the industry who give you good guidance. And, sometimes I feel that the notion we have that women are not valued or women are not seen as equals. I think that its times are changing. It is how we perceive things. So it is how what we perceive. I think that is what we put forth in front of people. So this has been a very good experience. So I think later on in the talk, I would like to share what are the great experiences I've been having, and I'm just waiting to explore a lot of experiences in the coming days. Thank you, Sandhya. I think.
Thanks, Leela. I think you make a lot of valid points. I think the importance of starting from the beginning, going through the ropes, and really, I think being there and learning from the start are some really important points that you've made. Let's hear some more perspectives. So, Meghna, how is it for you when you look back? How did your journey start, and what are some key moments that jump out for you? Meghna, I think you're on mute.
Hey, Sandhya, every time I'm not able to unmute myself, so I was not able to interact with you. So thank you so much. I would like to re-quote, like you said in the beginning, that the road less traveled. So my diary says that I took the road less traveled. And
it's a nice coincidence. I didn't know about that for sure.
Yeah, so, and I loved it because, as soon as I saw this, I thought it's a part of me. So great to see people with different experience and different journeys here. I would like to share mine. So I come from a family of a service class. So my father was in state electricity board. My elder sister, she's an engineer. Myself, I'm a computer science engineer. And I have worked for 17 years, in a job. And for me, the leap of faith I took was 3 years back, and where I decided, that it's time for me to find my purpose of life and contribute whatever I have learned without being, to deviate from my ethics, my principles. And since I belong to the career counseling line, it is a line which gets a lot of people's trust and faith in you. So when you come across so many parents and students have been part of my journey right from the beginning. I have been a lecturer in an engineering college to the university admissions marketing here in Dubai as well. So every time parents have paid, a lot of interest and trust value, and they say that, we trust you with your decisions, whatever you suggest for a child. But during my service life, I feel bounded by the, organizations you are associated with. You, at the end of the day, you have to be fair with them as well. So at that point of time, I decided it's high time I should be guiding and teaching these students in an unbiased way. I should, tell them that these are the best options available for you, give them the choices, let them explore and decide. So that was the, that thought gave me the idea to do something on my own. Of course, having a secured background lets you, makes it easy for you to take a leap of faith in a better and easy way. And I did that. But then I started my company in 2019, and then COVID happened. But I don't blame COVID. It worked well for the education sector because people dropped their inhibitions. They were open to online sessions. In fact, I did a government project with the Telangana government for the residential schools there. We did a train the teacher program there. So, it gave me a bigger platform across the world. People were receptive to it. It started out well. But yes, being a woman entrepreneur, and that too coming from a service background to the business background, you require a change of mindset. You need to think differently. And sometimes you get surprised by yourself, things which you don't know that you were capable of and you could do. Now you can do that. So I think the biggest aspect is the change of mindset, which change the perception about you also, and it gains and incites confidence into you that you know how things can be taken up. And rest, probably I'll share my journey as and when the conversation goes on.
Thanks, Meghna. Yeah, again, a different journey, but I'm sure as we look forward and hear it out from the others as well, I'm sure a lot of common points in terms of looking deep within yourself. I think in terms of understanding what is it that you would kind of wish to take on, probably, I think those, I'm sure, will be some common themes that will emerge. Let's shift gears. So Hima, I mean, you know, the world of intellectual property rights, patents. So how did that journey of yours start, and you know, and where do you see, you know, how did that really start and progress to where you are now today?
Thank you, Sanya. So, you know, according to one of the women entrepreneurship study done by Bain, it says that 59% of ladies try to work because they just wanted to reduce their dependency on spouse and family, whereas 46 they you know, work to break the ceiling. But I belong to neither of them. You know, I just had a flair towards the studies that I did, and being a university topper, I always had you know, some connection with my subject, want to remain, stay there, you know, study more, and as Leela told, you know, fly off, do some research thing. But you know, coming from a very middle class you know, a family, you know, girls, they were not so you know, free enough to send a girl abroad to do her master's or study there. So well, I stayed back, but I did wanted to do something in this field. Then patents was one of the options that I had, where I could lay hands on what are all the new technologies that come up in you know, before the world sees. It's we who actually touch, feel, see, or you know, work about, sketch how the roadmap does feel. So with this, I actually started off, you know, it was accidental. My entrepreneurial journey was purely accidental because it was a compulsive accidental role that I had to take up because of my child. When I just started this up, you know, I had a month's baby. I just delivered her and I had to start it from a scratch. So it was a long journey where I had to carry my baby, whom I was feeding. She was just 2 to 3 months old baby. I just, wherever I had to go, all to the, you know, offices and all, I had to carry her, feed her, then keep her inside the car, or you know, carry her along with me and go. But as Lakshmi Garu was saying, you know, in the earlier panel, there was an organization who calls up, and you know, in 2000 she just got it out in 2007 or 8, but even 2014 the situation was same. You know, when I was called up, you know, one of my you know, in one of the offices, I was just called out for a scrutiny, and when I went there, he was just asking, who's your MD? I said, I'm the MD of my company. He says, no, I just want a gent to talk to. So I just was little apprehensive because, you know, my job or my role never demanded a gender-based, you know, structure of work. Neither our roles actually demand that this job has to be done by a male or female, but yet the society sees. So it was these sort of smaller barriers that I had to break. But the other barrier that I had was, you know, understanding people, what sort of a work that I do. You know, IP is a very less traveled field where I had to convince people even for employment. You know, IT, it was far more, you know, where the people travel, but IP is a very less traveled road. So it was too difficult for people to make them understand what I do. Point two, it was too difficult for me to get in employees, board them. So if an interview used to be for 1 hour, 45 minutes was their counseling, interview part actually was only 15 minutes. You know, this was the barrier. These were a few of the barriers that we just crossed, and then we made up. And you know, now I am in a position where, apart from my parent company, I just am a part and founder, and also a partner for 4 other companies. And apart from that, as you know, I'm part leading a vice chair for Indian Women Network as well. and where many barriers there are there, Sandhya, to talk about. I was very hesitant to talk to, or very afraid to come and just say. I just love talking, but in public forums and all, I was so scared. Like that stage fear always was a part of me grooming like a child, which I just had a barriers to break and join guys and then travel on these things. So I think, yeah, so this entrepreneurship, it came and I just carved it. It was not something expected or carved by me, but whatever comes to me, I took it in a positive note and I just carved my space in whatever comes on my way. So I think that this is a place, or we ladies or anybody, for instance, should have this sort of a sculpting, where you sculpt your own lives and you create your own paths. Nobody will get you a chair, but we got to create our own spaces or our own places where we could come, excel, and inspire others. So with this, I just start off, and we'll just be more interactive in the coming discussions. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think, Hima, you make some really great points. I think it's about carving your own space, understanding what you really want to do, what interests you, and even incidentally, coincidentally, you will end up in that space, but it is also about how to make best of those opportunities. And you also bring out a very pertinent point, which really is at the heart of this discussion, is also about some of those barriers or biases that come along the way. So what you mentioned, there are a lot of conscious biases, but many unconscious biases as well, that a lot of us, almost everybody in this space, has to surmount at some point of the other as you go along this journey. So that's I think, hold that. I think that's an interesting theme for our next segment, but certainly very pertinent points. Thank you. So Kirti, let's move on to you. I mean, how did Check Organics happen, and how did you take the plunge, and how has your journey been?
I've been abroad for more than 16 years in Africa. I was actually into my business, supporting my husband into food processing. So every year as we come for a holiday, in 2016, I've come for a holiday. And when you are abroad, you try to accumulate as much as investments possible in India. So that's how I purchased a land of 50 acres as an investment in my retirement plan. In 2016, what happened was, because I had my farmland, my father, who also is foreign returned, didn't want to keep it idle. He wanted to do agriculture in his retirement plan. So my retirement plan has become my father's actually. So he started agriculture, and we are certified organic. And we've been doing agriculture for more than 2006. So from then it's been we've been investing as an organic farmers, but we've never seen that profit because organic farming is very high cost and more manual work. We don't use chemicals, so everything we have to do manual, even the weeding. So that was very expensive, and the product, of course, will be expensive because the process is high. In 2016, when I came for a holiday, I've seen that we've been doing agriculture but never got a rupee from it. And why are we not able to sustain being organic farmers? Whereas it was just booming that time, a lot of organic market was happening. So then I thought I'll stay for a year and see. So I gave a shock to my husband saying that I'll stay back with my 3 children. In fact, I was ready to even change their school from Nigeria to India. So my husband supported. He said, okay, take a plan for 1 year and see how it works. So that 1 year I lived, I have my own house. So I lived in that house with my 3 kids, with my parents' support, and studied to the ground level as to what a farmer would go through. Because I've seen farmers are never getting rich, they always, because I had my funds, I could sustain, but if I have to live just with agriculture, it wouldn't happen. So I studied in detail for a couple of months, and then I thought, I should not give my produce to the middlemen because they are exploiting. I went to making my own retail store, and then with a brand name called Check Organics, and then started making my branded product and selling it directly as a farmer to the consumer. So that concept actually worked very well. It kept me going, and my work was known to people. People appreciated that, this direct farmer is selling the product. So that 1 year went very well. And I felt the other point is, no matter where we live, whichever country you live, nothing like India, because the culture which my kids have learned in that 1 year span, I felt I should continue living in India. So I decided to continue in India. And so my husband was managing business there and me here. We did well. And I've been growing gradually, learning more. And wherever I've seen no possibility, I've created a new possibility. Yeah. Okay. So then this pandemic period, that was again a big challenge. There we had all our farmers who worked in our farm have left to their natives, and my entire produce was just neglected in the farm. Even we could not go because there was a complete lockdown for a couple of weeks. So that has put me to a loss. And because we had a lockdown, there was no possibility to go ahead with my retail, nor my brand, or my agriculture. That has given me a new possibility of creating something new, that is some byproducts from what I have cultivated. So from there, we have come up with hair oil. With all the weeds we plucked from the farm, we have a lot of medicinal plants. And when you do a monocrop, you don't want any extra growth. So when we pluck those weeds, I've seen all the medicinal plants. So I said, let's make something new with it. So that's how I made a hair oil. Then came up with shampoo, with a lot of range of hair care. Then with the turmeric, I cultivated the pulses, and the rice I cultivated because we had no other option. So we came up with byproducts of skincare, hair care, and wellness products. So I'm very popularly known for a miracle fruit called noni, which we actually started cultivating in 2000, 14 years back. But then from there, we've been the only brand who makes every product with a miracle fruit and combination of herbs. So it's me and my husband had left his business in Nigeria, came back to join and support me. So it's been 3 years he's joined me in the journey. So we both are working together for the brand.
Lovely. What interesting journey. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So we've heard, multifold perspectives and so many rich, I think, threads that emerge from, all of your journeys. But some things do stand out as common challenges. Hima, you touched on a lot of those. I'm sure each one of you, all of us on this panel, have encountered those as we have tried to, progress on our journeys. So maybe let's take some time to talk about, what those challenges were. I'm sure there are many of those which are common. Some of the lessons learned. So as there are many aspiring entrepreneurs, women founders, students, what could be some lessons that could be offered from this journey of each one of you? Because also the power of these kind of networks is that one doesn't have to go through those challenges or those obstacles over and over again. There is a lot of benefit to learn from people who've already gone through those. So I think that's an important contribution that we could have in terms of offering some of those lessons learned to the the audience and the participants. And also, some things on maybe how we could have done differently, because some of those, it is easier on hindsight to see, now some things look much clearer. I think those 2-3 are some thoughts. We could just use some time, take a couple of minutes, each one of you, to share what those, thoughts, ideas around lessons, challenges, and, along those themes. Whoever wants to go first, we can just, take it in a very organic way.
Yeah. Can I?
Sure, go ahead.
So when I came to India in 2016, the country was completely new. Just don't know where the country is going. Coming to a holiday and, living back in the country is totally different. So I have actually learned that women empowerment is something happening which I've never heard in any other country, nor that much support given. So I have joined COVI, that is Confederation of Women Entrepreneurs. One of my friends told me. So that has given me a platform to actually understand the trends and the market happening in India. And I think I was at the right time in India. So from there, I took it forward. But coming to the challenges, yes, as a woman, there are restrictions to going places and leaving the children. But as a great support, if parents are there or your spouse is there to help you, that's a good thing. But I don't see, except if you have the drive in you, you can just take it forward to any greater extent, and nothing should stop us in case you're very focused on what you want to do.
Great, great. I think you made a valid point. Certainly, I think support of one's family is one of those single most contributing factors to a successful journey. And also, I think the other point that you touched upon in terms of, I think, the power of a network, the ability to build a network of peers. I'm sorry, I think I just dropped off for a bit, but I thought we had some valid points, and if Leela would like to just go next and touch upon, how she thought some of these challenges and what.
Yes, Sandhya, just to mention here, like all the previous panel were talking, right, that, why to distinguish between a men entrepreneur and a woman entrepreneur. So I always believe that we have to evolve as an individual, irrespective of being a woman or men. So for me, I think as an individual, I feel the challenges are our habits. So how we bring that discipline into our life, so how we do the time management, and how we bring in that inclusiveness. So where we not only think about how as an individual we are growing, but what impact it has on the organization, what impact it has on the society as a nation. So that is a kind of a circular loop. So whatever, I think, especially with times uncertain now, I think it's more important to be deep rooted and understand how our values and our nature and our decisions make an impact on the society. So for me, I think the biggest challenge was to bring in discipline in life. So I think when discipline comes, then there is hard work, then there is commitment. All these things happen. So how there is a habit forming for a physical thing, like you start exercising every day, that is a habit. You start reading every day, that is a habit. So how you condition your mind, I mean, how you nurture that good values in your mind, that conscious and mindful thinking every day, every second, in whatever job you do, be it is a personal work or a professional work or some product which you're bringing in. So if there is that mindfulness in whatever you're doing, that specific concentration which you get into that job, I think when as an individual we are able to do that single-minded focus in whatever we are doing. So I think that develops within a period of time. So that is what I think everybody, all of us, have to consciously and continuously work on. So that's what I think is the biggest challenge.
Great. I think that stands true. I think in terms of prioritization, in terms of being able to focus on the single most important thing. And also, I think, some of these are what we think of as challenges also tend to be self-imposed. In some sense, it's all in our minds, while we assume, I think a lot of those are something that we have to kind of break out and of those of our own, inner demons, if I may say that, and then really look at, I mean, how does it translate, and what are those key areas that we need to really focus on, and just kind of declutter some of the other
Yeah, I
things.
think just to add on, like you said, being a very spiritually oriented person, which I have developed over a period of time, I found that strength in belief, in prayer, in there is this famous saying from the scriptures which says, "Yat bhavam tat bhavati." That is, you are what you believe. So you actually become what you believe. So that belief is more important, and working towards that belief, I think, is the most important thing.
Great, great. Meghna, so how would you say, I mean, what came up to you in terms of, challenges or I mean, how did you see yourself? What would be some thoughts to offer for those, listening in terms of, learnings from your journey?
Yes, I believe that everybody have their own set of challenges, and every stage of your growth, your startup, your company have different set of challenges. Like for me, what I felt was that I've worked with some top brands, and when you represent those brands, the company, the organizations are receptive to you in a different way. But when you start some of your own venture, you have to build up a credibility. You cannot carry that legacy forward with your own brand. You have to start everything from the scratch. You have to sell yourself, you have to build up your brand, and it's a whole journey. And sometimes you feel that there are moments when you just feel that maybe I have taken a wrong decision, or maybe things are not working that way. So I think the biggest challenge comes up from within yourself, where you get to a point where things are not working. And then you have to, convince yourself, gather yourself again, and take that plunge again and keep going. So things, as you move forward, things keep on changing, and the challenge, and being a woman, then being a mother, then having those and we are brought up in an environment where we are conditioned to take everything as our primary responsibility. Thankfully, our next generation, our kids are not like that. But if you are deep down into work at 10 o'clock and you come back home and you see that food is not there, you might take it, oh my God, it's my responsibility, I should have done it. But I think we need to come out of that guilt. And I would also like to mention that, even the, men have changed a lot. They have become very supportive, and they actually, give you that platform to go and take your leap of faith and fly. So the conditioning, but it is not about blaming anyone. It is about yourself. You have to, accept yourself and be merciful on yourself, not going into the guilt that, okay, it's okay to be imperfect sometime, let the things happen, just take things as they come up. So, things both professionally and personally, challenges are there, but I think the key is to be consistent. Even in your down period, you should be there. Try to think of new things to get back, but don't give up, because there are very few people who take that step and then the journey is always ahead. There are road stoppers, but we should continue. Things work out. We only need to, hold on, think, and move on.
And I think great points. I think you also made a very important point about also building your personal brand, because I think many studies have shown that that's an area that tends to, get overlooked and needs a lot more focus as we move forward, more specifically for women as well. So I think, make a great point there about the need to really focus on building that, which really comes from, your ability to understand, the vision that you build, how you deliver on the promises, and really about a multitude of other aspects that really go into building up of a brand. Great. So Hima, you did touch upon some of those, which I think are fairly, significant areas where in a field which is less traveled, to being, a woman founder in that space. So yeah, what would be your advice to aspiring, entrepreneurs in areas like these, and what would you say are your lessons learned, or how would things have been maybe easier for you? What would have helped?
Well, Sandhya, because challenges are always more pronounced when it comes to entrepreneurship, because the degree of risk that is involved in the process is much higher. And never does the same question paper appear in front of you. The questions change, the challenges change. We just encounter a problem, we prepare for a solution, go there, quite enough excited to face the challenge, but the problem changes. And apart, though there are a list of the bigger things that come as we all are talking about the inherent subconscious, the gender bias, or be it the family support or the societal or the family requirements or expectations around us. The professional things that challenges that were there, especially in my journey, I would think it is the limited access to business or the networking groups that we generally tend to play. These play a major role in our journey. So it does a limited access of that, which is really a challenge. That still I'm trying ways to break them. And the other thing that I would apart from all this, I would say are two things. One is the emotional strength that we must have, because being a woman, though this is nothing the subconscious gender bias that we might have, or the responsibility with which we are also supposed to run our family when it comes into the picture, balancing family, our health, and the company. These three the things together, I think it's a juggling of things where we just have to make wise choices, and nothing is correct or wrong. It's always circumstantial there. So I think it's the emotional strength that we all have to conquer before entering or dealing things in this particular space. The other challenge I usually face is the cultural conundrum. The way we are raised, as girls, we would have been raised to be not so talkative, not so bubbly, not to laugh for a simple joke, not to just go inside a heat of people and just talk openly where networking comes into picture. So and very respectfully we handle with all these principles. Sometimes that could be as bad. When you are a leader, you sometimes have to say no to some things, right? And when you lead an organization, sometimes you have to take decisions that people might think that you are so bad, but it's okay to be bad, because it is for the company that we take the decisions. So this nameness, this emotional strength, which protects or which deals with our family from our internal perspective. The second thing is people taking easy with us when we simply obey their orders, or simply be polite to others. So there is always a means where people just take it over and misuse that. So the knack of all these things, or the way we handle this social life, I think that is also one of the main challenge when you are doing business, especially in India, because when I handle the corporate clients, it's much more easier to me, because there the biasing definitely doesn't come in. But when I do handle domestic clients, or I go to places where these interactions are there, yes, it's still prevailing, which though we don't care, but we should seriously know the way to steer ourselves and come out of it. So this is the thing I think are my lessons.
Thanks, Ima. I think you make great points. I think specifically the first one, where you talked about access to networks. I mean, for example, where we are at T-Hub, and if you look at the larger startup ecosystem, the access to networks, access to capital is what we've seen fundamentally as being one of the, I mean, it is the world over. But it's further amplified in the tech space. But in terms of access to capital, because a lot of these tend to be traditionally have been male dominated. So I mean, it is just means that the problem gets amplified at each stage. So it is about being able to provide equal opportunity. So what a lot of investing companies, what a lot of enabler organizations like T-Hub are trying to do is to encourage a lot of these groups to at least have a woman representative in the investment team, at least look in the investment committees, in some of those which are assessing some of these, because that's one step forward to seeing and to eliminating some of those inherent biases, and to be able to have a lot more women founders get a little better opportunity in being able to present. It's more about having more equal opportunity.
Absolutely. Sorry to disturb at this juncture, Sandhya, because when you say a woman representative, this is what I find it, to be more helpful, because in my journey, when I was struggling to get funds, I just went to one of the, a firm that could help me get, prepare my balance sheet so that I would get a funding. It was so hassle, though I was their client, but since I was a woman, they, through the papers, literally asked me to get, I used to go around with my baby and come back. They used to give me one simple paper, say that they have forgotten something, and I just have to walk miles and get that xeroxed and, submit. It was totally like they wanted to test my patience or, my determination towards achieving goal. That's what I think even today. That's what they tested me. And these are the steps where I thought of, no backdrop. No, I wouldn't drop myself. I would just continue the journey. And these are the hurdles. So this was some sort of an inspiration rather than deterring factors for me, I would say.
Absolutely. I think, Kanchan, we have a time, hard stop, right? So I do know we could go on and on, because this is such a meaty topic, and all of us have so much to share. So how are we doing? Would you like us to close with some Q&A, or
I think we have good 5 minutes, ma'am. I think 5 minutes, let's wind up the discussion.
Okay, sure. So, I'll just take a minute to summarize what we've discussed, and probably ask my fellow panelists to take a minute each to just highlight what they probably could not cover, and then we'll turn it over to you, Kanchan. So I think we've really, managed to kind of understand the journeys of our women founders here, where they've started and how they've reached where they are. You're looking at some unique and some not so unique challenges along the way. I think the need to kind of find that, really reach out for that goal, to understand, to really not shy away from doing all the hard work ground up. I think to really look out for support systems, not to be deterred by challenges, but to take it as an inspiration. I think to dig deep into our families and our peers and other support systems. I think those are some learnings that I'm sure, a lot of the participants in this discussion will take away. But I will turn it over to my co-panelists, probably request them to take a minute each, and then, share any other thoughts that they would like to. Yeah, Leela.
Yeah, thank you, Sandhya. So I wouldn't even take a minute. So I would just summarize the previous panel, the 6 ups of leadership I really liked. So I thought I should drop some panels to that. So as ma'am said, it's show up. So show up actually means, this is for the people who are listening to, I think show up actually means have clarity in your thought before you speak. So only when you are very clear in your thought process, you will be able to raise your hand and then speak up. So there is for this one, I think before you speak, you should listen. I think listen more is more important. So you listen and then speak. So that's when we enrich ourselves, and whatever words we come out with will be really valuable. And look up. So that is a very important point. So how you look up, how you visualize the farther picture. I think it's more about empowering people, and then coaching and collaborating, and then probably I always tell with some of my friends here, it's always good to collaborate than compete. So I think that's what it is about. So thank you so much for the platform, and Kanchan, you've been I think it's been a really great show. I hope many people got some good insights from this webinar. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Hima, would you like to go next?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, IOD and Kanchan. Thank you so much. Very few points to concise here. I think in addition to all these problems, access to funds is what we have problem to be solved. If at all a creation or a tighter integration to all these formal or informal meets that sometimes we can arrange where the interactions or networking can take place. I think that would be great, where such sort of things would be totally raised, and we would grow up to a next level. And entrepreneurship is always easy, but it comes along, it carries along with it some pros and cons as well, which one have to be prepared. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And Sanya, thank you so much.
Thanks, Hima. Yeah, Meghna, would you like to take a minute and share your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, I would like to thank Kanchan for giving me a platform like this. Thank you so much. It's a wonderful show. I would like to tell, as Leela was discussing, that generally women are considered resources with baggages. Even if you go with hiring, or if you go for a higher designations in the company, they all try to figure out, oh my God, if you give a position to this lady, she might come back and tell you, I have to, my child is sick, or I need to go. So, but I think entrepreneurship gives you that platform to prove the world that you can do it all alone without being, telling people that they have multiple roles to perform and a woman can perform best in all the roles. It's their choice what they pick up and what they want to do. So I would actually recommend people to gain certain experience in their current roles and should try their hand on being an entrepreneur or start your own thing, because it changes your world 360 degree, and it lets you do things which you never thought of you are capable of. So I would just say that, take that leap of faith, go on that plunge and explore the world. And I also want to like to add on that, the trend which is going on, there is no more that women don't help each other or promote each other. Now women are coming together and they actually prefer, when they want to collaborate or pass on the business. Especially me, when I have any opportunity, I make sure that if any woman entrepreneur is there, I would like to first reach out them and try to, give business. So if we all work together like that, it is going to be beneficial for all of us.
Great advice, Meghna. I think that's totally true. And I think also in areas like funding also, like now, which was unheard of, but you have women only funded, investor groups. We have a lot of focus on looking at those kind of businesses. So it's really the ecosystem which is really now coming together in multiple ways to help and foster and enable, women founders. So yeah, it's a great time to take the opportunity and take that leap of faith. Yes. So Kirti, final words?
Yes. For me, being a woman entrepreneur, I feel is going to impact the next generations, because being a mother of 3, when I work, putting my heart and soul in it, my whole family involves in it. And I have my daughters and my son cooperating with me in my work when I work from home. So they are already learning in a practical way. And, another thing is every startup has to continue. So as long as I'm alive, I'll take care of it after that watch. So, inspiring my younger generation, I think somebody will take it forward as a family business. So that is something which I think is very important. We imbibe that culture in the children. When we are growing, they also grow along with it.
Thanks, Kirti. I think you bring together, I think a very great point, which probably is, which we didn't touch on very, explicitly, is the role model. I think it's the role model effect that women leaders, founders, and businesses, which kind of creates an ecosystem effect, and studies have shown that a lot of these have multiplier benefits which go much beyond their current contribution. Again, excellent discussion. Thanks for being such a fantastic panel, and thank you so much for the engaging and insightful thoughts. So I'll turn it over to you, Kanchan, to take it forward. Thank you all once again.
Thank you so much, all my speakers, beautiful women here. I think you are very inspiring, and we really had a lot to learn from.
Thank you.
Over to you, Jaya ma'am.
Thank you so much, speakers, for an excellent interactive panel discussion. It was pleasure hearing you all. So many things that I was looking for have been answered. So any questions that anyone has, may please put in the chat box.
No, ma'am, we don't have any questions.
If you don't have any questions, well and good. Thank you, all the speakers that have been very interactive, and thank you for all your presence. Now, I would request Ms. Kanchan Sharma, Regional Manager, Institute of Directors, Hyderabad Region, to give the closing remarks and vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Jaya ma'am. I think over the course of the whole event, I already feel a lot empowered. I think there was a lot of learning and inspiration that has gone in throughout the whole event. And this has been a very wonderful, informative and motivational session for all of us. And there are certain points, I think, which are very remarkable that I'd like to put it across. I think we all women need to look inwards and we need to grow. And self-doubt, I think, is one of the carrying theme that how do I make the switch, and these kind of questions, I think they have been to a large extent been answered throughout. And there was a very fantastic line that I came across: I am because you are. So I think we women are very giving in our nature, very empathetic. So I think it's time that we also need to start thinking about ourselves, and our support system needs to also understand that we need that kind of support to grow. And we also need to find our mentors and a team as well to be able to grow. So I don't think there is any time needed for us to wait for an opportunity to fall and then we need to grow. We need to carve our own niche. We need to carve our own path. And we all have the courage and strength to do it. So you all are our heroes and you have inspired a lot of us today. So let's have many more such empowering sessions and help each other grow. So that being said, I, on behalf of IOD and IOD Hyderabad, extend our gratitude to all our associate partners, Shravan Shipping Services Private Limited, Ftronic Systems Private Limited, and our supporting partner, VHub, for being our sponsors. I would also like to thank all our distinguished speakers who've been very supportive and who've been excited and been there with us throughout the event to share their stories. And we had a lot to learn from. Thank you so much for all your inputs. I would also personally like to thank our chairman, sir, Mr. Suresh Chukapalli, for being a pillar of support for us. Many thanks to our president, sir, CEO, sir, events team, IT and design team for their support. Last but not the least, our beautiful star for the day, Ms. Lakshmi ma'am, our anchor for the show. She herself is an entrepreneur, and I think she's been very active and she stayed with us, and she's volunteered to host our show. Thank you so much, ma'am. And we look forward to having more such sessions in the future. Thank you so much.